Red is on.
All right, today is Thursday, October 12th, year 2017. Let this meeting of the Tilton Board of Selectmen now come to order. Please let the record show that Mr. Selectman Scanlon and Selectman St. John have not joined us as of yet, but the rest of us are here. Shall we stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Would you join us, please? Just say it's a, we'll just say tenant.
For the tenant,
Or occupant.
as long as we don't say the name.
Yeah.
In your packets, I updated this.
We pull down the mic, or excuse Catherine.
All right. Principal and interest due total, that's due today.
As-
76.61.
And maybe I thought one of Peter's questions were if we could just describe the process for him, so because he's never been through this as a manager of a.
Oh, I've been through this 1,000
Oh, you
times
have?
as a landlord, but I have no experience as a municipality. I don't know how
Yep.
the process varies.
Oh, good. You could probably help me with the landlord part. The statutes, RSA 80, 88 through 91, outline how towns can dispose of tax-deeded property.
And I'm relatively up to speed on that. One of your questions to me was, would we have an interest in participating in a purchase situation? And my response, if you're not aware, was a lot would depend on the condition on the inside. Since we're talking about a situation that's obviously gone sideways, that's somewhat debatable as to what that would be. I'm under the impression, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and it may be what jostled the tenant to want to respond to you today, that there have been at least a process started towards having that unit vacated. In the landlord side of things, there's two basic ways you end up in the situation that the town is in: non-payment of rent or a violation of our rules. Non-payment of rent's a 30-day process, and then you got to take them through landlord-tenant writ, hearing on the merits, and if you prevail, then you get what's known as a writ of possession, which entitles us as landlords to recover our property, the land, underneath the unit that we're talking about. I don't know if that time frame is the same for you, when it kicked off, how far away are, and what discussions may happen later this evening may cause the selectmen to derail the whole process and start over. It's from what I've seen in public record, and I looked at the Registry of Deeds today, this is not this guy's first trip to the rodeo. So,
Well, we're planning to go to the court to get the writ of possession on October 25th.
okay, so you're as far as that.
But on top of that, I have another process through this RSA 80 where the town can only dispose of property that we take by tax deed two ways: by public auction or a provision that's called as justice may require. And what that is that allows the selectmen to, especially in this instance where it's a piece of property that they don't own the land underneath, that we have to work with the current landlord of the land to, because I'm sure you have rules as to how we...
And we've got an application process too, which may or may not affect a public auction. It's not unheard of for these things to make a trip to either Maine or northern New Hampshire and become hunting or fishing trips. So somebody may be interested in simply buying it taking it off our property, in which case our application procedure and all that is moot. It may be that somebody has interest in purchasing it to reside in it, in which case, obviously, the application process becomes important. And it
that
may
makes
be,
our process a little more complicated because those who bid on it, if they want to live there,
They have
go through the application process before they bid on it.
we can turn it around pretty quickly.
I was gonna ask.
72 hours for
For
us to turn
application
an
process.
application around is the outside. And generally, we do it within 48 unless there's something
Right.
wonky in the application. No verifications of income or credit issues, something like that that we need to resolve. But typically, we work pretty fast. So if your public auction notice contained a language that said, if you intend on bidding, then please contact Rogers Development Company for one of our applications and submit it ahead of time. And we provide a written confirmation that yes, this person has been approved as a tenant. And if you go to public auction, there's another tangent, a fork in the road, where we may show up and bid as well, which would alleviate it. So there's multiple directions this thing can go, and as the spokesman for the company, we're happy to work with the town. We're in much better shape to work with the town than to butt heads. That gets expensive for everybody, and there's really no need of it because it's just us and you. It doesn't have to be complex.
Okay, the other part we have to consider, because we have had worked out a similar arrangements with one of the other parks where they ended up taking it.
They had a party that was interested, so
Right.
they ended up, we made the deal with the park.
Right. By law, the selectmen have to, all we can really recoup is what we're owed.
I get that.
And also we can include our legal expenses, our expenses for maintaining the property, all administration, all the mailings and things like that. And then we have to document all that because we have to present that to the
I
court.
get it.
So anything that over and above our expenses and getting our taxes back, we have to return to the former owner.
I get that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Just,
and
and in that, we would include part of the expenses would be, we don't know if he's in arrears with his
no,
park rent.
as a matter of fact, he came into October with a credit, which is why this whole thing is just so bizarre. What are you doing? I can't speak to the logic behind it, but that's the situation. He does owe us currently for the month of October, and I'm sure pending discussions with you folks this evening will depend on whether or not we get paid. But our park rent's $363 a month on that site.
$363.
And they had an $80-some credit. I've got a statement here. Right now, he's $277 in the ditch to us, including the credit that he came into October with. So right now, the balance owed is only $277. So that's not insurmountable, and if you guys are in a position to obtain a writ of possession in October, well, then we're not talking huge dollars.
Well, on top of that, we have to wait a certain period. First, we have to have it vacated. And then we would go in, we'd shut off all the utilities, turn off the water, and protect the property, put locks on it, what have you. And then the law requires that from a date that I mail out what are called these 89 notices, it gives 15 days. Within 15 days, the former owner or lien holder, and there is a lien holder. Yeah, there is a lien holder.
Registry.
It's through HSB Mortgage Corporation. It may be discharged, we don't know, because they don't always record discharges. But it came through on the deed research that our tax collector has to do as her due diligence before she gives the town.
I'll have to go back to the Registry of Deeds website because I went, and I will confess I wasn't paying a lot of attention. I was scrolling and I saw Tom Tilton ad infinitum.
Yeah.
But I didn't see any mortgage on it.
I can go
And they,
through.
they're probably not even aware that this process is going on.
In dealing with banks, there's a number of them that you send the notices and people sign and receive them, and then I call them and you get in touch, because this is where they resell, they don't know. And then we don't hear back from them within the deadline. Yeah, it's Beneficial New Hampshire, Inc. out of Depew, New York, and when you look that up, it's an HSBC.
Does it give a date of the lien?
Yeah, I can give you all that information. I just don't have
I
it
just
right
didn't
on.
see it. Like I said, it wasn't.
I don't know what the amount is for. So actually, so that would go to the lien holder, or anybody that had an interest. Like you could put a lien for your.
Yeah, no,
Everyone. I'll give you that before you leave tonight. So we'd have to notify them because they may have an interest in buying it.
They may want to protect their collateral if
Correct.
they're in the same situation.
So they have 15 days to respond saying that, yep, we want to keep it, and then they have to produce the money within 15 days. If they don't do that, then we can sell it on the 91st day. They completely extinguish their thing. But even if we do extinguish it, we're still liable in the court. It's called, you file a bill of interpleader, that anything in excess, and then you guys have to go after it.
Interpleters are always fun.
Yeah. So that's where we are in the process, and I didn't mail out the letters because I knew he was coming in, and now the other party is coming in. So, but I can still mail out the letters, and that starts.
How old a place is this that we're talking to?
90s. It's like a 91 or 92.
But it's in a nice lot.
You know, all those homes, I sold every home on that block, and they were all in the 89 or 92 vintage, if you will. It's not archaic. And I'm sure it has value. It's just, what does it take to rehab whatever's been done to the inside or haven't? Deferred maintenance can be tough. But even in the worst case scenario, at public auction, if nobody steps up and we were the highest bidder, we'd still, make a play and move it from the lot or do something. But I think we're probably premature in a lot of instances because there's so much in flux even here tonight.
Right.
Again, the best maybe I can tell you is that I'm happy to work with the town in resolving it because that's best for all of us. If we yank it and replace it, well, chances are the new owner will be a little more diligent with their tax payments, and we've got an improved home.
All right. Well, as I said, the 25th is the date that we have to go, and I have all my instructions here. It's the writ of execution. Is that what it is? Writ of possession.
Writ of possession.
Writ of possession. To go, and the sheriff
And
will
then the
serve
sheriff
it.
comes and,
Right.
Always fun.
So you have been through that part.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, that I
I've been in
haven't.
this job 32 years. I've had to do it more than I like to. I don't like
Yeah.
dispossessing people of their
Yeah.
homes, but
Usually,
now's the time.
my experience has been something can be worked out, but this, we just had no response from the individual.
Yeah, and that silence is tough.
Okay.
Folks, appreciate your time. If you need
Thank
me,
you.
give me a
Appreciate
yell.
you.
I'm not a hard guy to get a hold of. It's either home or at the office. Seems to be where I spend my time.
And I must say that it was very pleasant in dealing with you on the whole garbage thing. I shouldn't say the garbage thing.
Let's let that
I shouldn't
one
say the
go.
garbage thing.
Let's let that one
Pretty
go.
funny.
So you done your trash talk?
I've done my trash talk.
That means something else where I come from.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah,
Let me
thank
know
you,
how you
Peter.
make out
Yes, we
tonight,
will.
Because that triggers everything.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks for coming in, Peter. Have a safe ride home.
It is a very well kept school. I will tell you that. I've been there several times.
Oh, you're inside? Okay.
I've been there
Oh, you-
sometimes,
okay.
yeah, inside as well. Yeah, I haven't been inside though.
All right, so we have minutes of September 28th, but we're going to go down now.
Ashley's here.
Ashley's here. John's right behind her. You notice
We're playing
now.
games
Yep.
again?
Was there a reason for that? Did I miss something?
Down there. Throw things at each other.
Well, we're in the same sequence.
Was there a discussion that I missed that you needed to be in?
I did find the publication, I'll bring it in. I was doing some house cleaning.
I don't know who.
Well, last meeting.
Changes your thought process or
Well,
something?
no, we're not doing it right either, Madam Chair. Ashley is correct. All we're doing is sliding around. We're still side by each with who you always were.
Okay, they'll come up together. Or do we just scramble?
No, it has to, you've got to be random.
Oh, I didn't know we needed to change who we sat beside to.
Yes.
Sorry,
I'm
I'm
not for anything, it's just sitting. All right, let's take care of the minutes of 28th, please.
Captain, how much water do you go
Well,
through?
yeah, we met, and we had a chair and a vice
I
chair.
got a quarterly bill of almost 2 tanker loads.
The same.
The big fuel trucks, 1,900 cubic feet.
We're meeting.
1,000 cubic feet's about 8,000 gallons.
$193.
Yes.
Car wash.
No, no,
Car wash was that?
The chair.
no, did they forget to turn the spigot off, or? That,
Could put timer on the showers.
we're gonna have
Is
to,
the
I
car
think.
wash there or at Augustine?
Yeah, they wash the cars there too.
During the summer, we wash the cars out of the PD, right?
So it's typically that much?
We can have Johanna check the sewer side, because it'll,
It's
similar amount, you know, just look at, see what it was last year at that time. Seems high.
This going to.
We're going that way.
It was $189 last year, this period. So it's $4 more this year, this period, than last year.
So you're off the hook. They need to hydrate. They wash the
16,000 gallons in 3 months.
They wash the cars there and something.
5,000 gallon, oh. 3/4 of a tanker load a month? We are gonna have to put timers on those showers.
Because you're using it all, you personally, right?
Hey, we can speed
Well, he's
it up.
got a lot of
We're
hair to
gonna
wash,
order
you know what I mean?
Shampooing.
We're gonna charge him for the shampoo too.
Yes.
That's Thomas.
We're turning the hot water off at the PD, chief. You're using way too much water.
Must be very low, right?
Showers.
Bobby, look nice without crutches. Thank you.
What's the usage? Yeah, 6, bathroom. 1,600 cubic feet at Riverfront Park, a tanker and a half.
Of water?
Yeah,
Did somebody leave something on?
You missed the boat on that one.
yeah.
So more than half of the PD.
Manifest the town, so it comes up, I don't remember any water that was left on. I don't remember seeing
Well,
anything polished.
because irrigation's from the river.
Right?
Is the toilet left trickling?
What was the riverfront around this time?
Um, We're doing the minutes. So on page 5, under Selectman Dawson, Feral Cat.
5703.
Brief discussion of Birch Hill Kennels and the police not responding to stray two cats.
Stray two cats. Stray cats, okay. Thank
Stray
you.
cat strap.
To calls for cats?
responding to stray cats.
Okay. So leave out the second two.
So there's an extra 2 in there before the cats.
Okay.
You need to put calls in there because, I mean, how can you respond to a stray cat? Gail?
Yes, I heard. Thank you.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as corrected.
Second. Any discussion on the motion on the table? All those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. All right, this Public Works Director, let's move right into the budget process.
We have a new budget to work with.
It's not.
I do too, but this one.
I have it right here.
Do we have a new paper budget to work with?
I'm about to hand it to you.
Has it really changed since then, five?
Just when you get comfortable with it, you can do it.
Well, no, the expenses change every week, and we're collecting more information.
That's why I asked the
That's
date
why I
when
did
we're
the
actually
departments.
required to have a budget completed.
Thank you, Sarah.
Doesn't mean the budget committee can't hold both of the draft.
Hey, Brock.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Give one to our budget chair.
No, I mean, yes.
Oh,
I
okay,
did.
thank you.
So, this is updated with the most current information that we have, and with the recommendations that the Public Works Director is making this evening.
All right. Okay, I've had too many because I've lost my highlight in the meantime. Does anybody object if we go right to the Public Works Director's pitch to us on his new hire?
No.
Is that me?
That's you. Would you like to tell us about your proposal?
I've been putting it together as far as us handling the parks, Riverfront Park and doing that. And what it's come down to is, when I started here, I had 6 guys, 6 full-time people. Now, if I can get my 6 back up to the 6 full-time people and 1 part-time, which is all here, I'm very confident that I can handle the parks. Taking it with the exception of, we would still need Paul Rushlow to do the pesticide applications and whatnot until I'm done with the schools to do it myself. Which Paul isn't, that's actually in here too for Paul.
So would you, under your proposal, with your full-time and part-time person taking care of the parks, exactly what maintenance would you be doing in the parks? And that means all the parks, Riverfront, Civil, Vest, Buffalo,
Well,
and 132?
With the list of stuff that we have for Riverfront Park, you could pretty much guarantee, you could put up 2 people there full-time for the whole summer, for everything that needs to be done. We're going to, with this new full-time hire, which is not just going to be for Riverfront Park, it's going to be for the winter time too. We need the extra help for the winter as far as plowing and whatnot. So it's not just, I'm going to hire a full-time guy to sit at Riverfront Park, and then when we're done with Riverfront Park, he gets to sit in a chair and doesn't do anything. He's going to be plowing, he's going to be doing everything everybody else does, but in the summertime, they're going to be designated to the mowing, in Riverfront Park and all the other parks in town, as far as the weeding, the maintenance. And I'm not saying that we're gonna get every single thing on that list done, but we're gonna pick away at it as much as we can and get as much of it done as we can, while we're still maintaining a service of getting our road work done and taking care of everything else.
So you want to add one full-time person because we're going to take on Riverfront Park work.
Yes, well, we're gonna maintain all the parks now. We're gonna take care of the parks.
And if I may just add, in the 2017 budget, we had 6 full-time people budgeted. So
We have in the 2015.
it was probably 5 at the time. I'd have to go back and look at that. But the difference between the 17 and 18 budget for his cruise wages is it's roughly about $6,000. But then he's also saving money in the part-time from the last budget revision that you had. So the net of his part-time and full-time cruise wages lines is going down $1,375 from year to year. And that provides him with 5 months of a part-time person at 40 hours a week, along with a full-time hire. And there's also some wage adjustments incorporated in the cruise wages for him to be able to make some structural changes to his staff.
What about the benefits?
The benefits for the full-time hire is at the maximum family plan.
And you're still 13,000 less, or was that straight wage?
No, that's wages between part-time and full-time. The entire budget for his budget outside of sanitation is up 38,000, but that's not just medical is probably the majority of that.
Okay, but
Which
that's
is-
up over, this year's budget or however. How much, what is the cost of the additional full-time with benefits?
It's,
Not what it is-
we based it at $19 an hour, which is what we had last year was a thing for the new full-time person, and that, without the benefits, is $39,520 a year.
That is-
And then with the benefits, which, if you do,
I can tell you, yeah. It's,
I think it was 24,000.
it was 24,000 in the family plan. So total retirement, medical, everything is 72,000,
Plus retirement?
including retirement. Yeah, that includes retirement.
Well, the 20
So
whatever thousand was just medical, right? Family plan, you said?
right, so there's 39,520 for wages,
Yeah.
which is at $19 an hour. There's 24,473 for the medical, which is the family plan. Dental of 532, Social Security, Medicare, and then New Hampshire retirement, and life
What
and
would-
disability.
Yeah, what were those totals?
For Social Security it was $24.50, $573 of Medicare. Retirement is $44.98, and $474 in life and disability.
What was
So,
the retirement?
the retirement is
4,498,
$44.97 total retirement.
so 4,500.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure if there was a decimal point, that's what
Oh,
was
I'm sorry.
throwing me.
No, I'm sorry, yep. So the
Now-
total, including all those items I just mentioned, total cost of that employee is $72,046.
Does if we have people part-time, are they paying into the retirement?
No.
Or only full, so, okay, so that's another difference then.
Right.
What is the cost of the full-time for a year?
72,500.
72,000
I mean the part-time, I'm sorry.
part-time
The part-time person.
12,900,
for 5 months.
5 months,
I'm sorry, 12,000?
500, or 900, I'm sorry, 12,900.
So one of the oddities that you see this time of year, well, throughout the year, there's a jobs board for New Hampshire municipal positions, a classified jobs board, if you will. And Joyce and I were talking about it, and probably the number one job that's advertised for are CDL drivers, public works laborers, and so there's a lot of demand for it. And one of the aspects that maybe Brock mentioned of having a full-time employee is that you then are able to build experience with that person, and you're not cycling through part-timers, because in the past, when we were trying part-timers, we didn't continue on with it because it didn't work well for the town, because it was either not up to par for what the Parks Commission wanted, or we had difficulty finding people, or there was one thing or another. But had it been successful, we would have continued on using the part-timers in the way we had. But
Not only that, the toll on the equipment, having a part-timer, they're a lot less apt to treat our equipment respectfully, because they know they're, in the end of the wintertime, they're done, so there's, and I believe, I'm not 100% sure of this, but I believe you guys have ran into that in the past with part-time help.
Would we be hiring a part-time summer person
Yes.
if you were not taking care of, not adding the parks?
No. No. Just the full-time. Because the summer help is only here for the summer, it's not gonna
So
be
it's
for,
the only offsetting money is the monies that we pay, currently the park commissioners pay out for the landscaping, which is what, less than 8,000?
I'd have to look it up.
And that
More,
money
it
would be
was a little
saved.
It's
more,
more
I
than
think.
that, yeah.
Belknap was more.
And that
That
money,
was right.
and you wouldn't be paying that out because
12.
we'd be doing it,
I think
right?
it's 12.
Yeah, but you're only off,
Okay.
yeah,
It's
you're
not-
only offsetting, you know, you're looking at $84,546 to do the parks that we spend less than.
but it's not just the parks either, it's,
Right,
it's
yeah,
not just, we're not doing it just for the parks, this is for,
Well, that's what you said earlier.
No, I
To
still-
add on to the riverfront park, that's what the question I
right, in the
asked.
summertime, but like I said, in the thing, the full-time guy is going to transfer into where we are in the wintertime and become a plow guy and do all our winter maintenance also. That's what this is for.
So it would be actually cheaper for us not to have the part-time person, continue to hire a subcontract out to the landscaper, to do the landscaping.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in all reality, you guys could do that. But,
Then the public works would pick up, I mean, there's a lot of work that hasn't been done, there's some work that has been done, which is the maintenance on the infrastructure.
Right.
That's lawn care.
I feel like I'm saying this.
the lawn care is the easy part of that job.
Yes.
Mowing the lawn is the easiest part to do on that job. I mean, the list is right here. There's a ton of
So-
maintenance that is supposed to be done on that. That is, with the crew that we have, you could never keep up with that and still keep up with everything else that we're doing.
Right. So if we eliminated at least the part-time position and continued to hire subcontract the lawn maintenance, we would actually save money. And then just have the full-time person.
Right.
Who can take care of, do you have the figure we used to pay for the part-time winter person to plow? I'm just looking for an offsetting amount. An average?
The average that we spent in part-time was $11,000 a year for public works.
For winter?
Uh,
For the year.
For the year, however,
Half of it
almost,
was done.
I would, with the exception of
I don't
one
mean
year.
this year.
No, but with the exception of 1 year, it was all winter maintenance.
Right.
It was not summer.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, so
Maintenance.
$11,000 is the average over the course of 5 years.
And nobody has a crystal ball. You don't know what the weather's going to do. It's not.
I'm just looking for some kind of offsetting savings for the full-time position.
Well, it doesn't seem like we're gonna be saving too much if we're gonna end up paying for benefits and, you know, $72,000 for a full-time person with all the benefits and everything. And if they're hiring it out Riverfront Park, And you also hire out the
Fertilizing.
fertilizing in the the civil park too, right?
Right.
Yes, all the parks want maintenance.
Not to mention, you gotta consider, there's somebody's gonna have
That's
to do,
$8,000.
somebody's gonna have to do the other maintenance. There's sanding of the beams, which that's a
That's
2
always
weeks.
been the highway department though.
No,
No.
that's incorrect. That list, and I spoke specifically to Dennis, and he saw me outside of Pizza Express, and he said that list that was told that he's responsible for is absolutely incorrect. That was a list of all the things that have to be done for the parks, not specifically for the things that the Public Works Department was responsible for. And you can call Dennis on the phone right now, that is incorrect, and
Okay, but
he
if you
watched the
talk to
meeting
the
when that was said.
employees that actually went to the park and did maintenance things that are on that list, the list was written by the former road agent.
Dennis, who I spoke
No.
to, said that was not Public Works responsibility things.
Okay, the public works director wrote the list. I was with him in the park when he started the list. He put the times, how often these things needed to be done, and Public Works actually are the ones who painted all the lamp poles, who painted the railings.
We subcontracted the railings before too.
No.
But this, you can call Dennis right
Please
now.
let me finish, John. Please let me finish. It was Public Works who, after we contracted to have the railings done correctly because they were galvanized pipes, it was Public Works who's been maintaining those railings and painting them. It's Public Works who's been painting all the lamp posts. It was Public Works who's been sealing the beams in the pavilion and the fishing pier. We have not subcontracted any work out. It is Public Works who went down and urethane the doors. It was Public Works who takes care of the plexiglass when it gets graffitied. It's Public Works. The only thing that was not done by Public Works is I contracted with the state prison to have prisoners come up and do the work for the paths. They did some brickwork and other work because it was free and didn't cost anything. And I coordinated that with Dennis Allen.
Can I?
I can
So for him
spec-
to say Public Works has now been doing the maintenance,
No,
So who was doing
I'm
the road
telling you,
maintenance
it
during
is
all
their
of this?
responsibility. They took it over. They've been doing it. We have never subcontracted that work out. And if you talk to the crew, the men who actually did it, they will confirm it.
Let's look at a timeline for this. Right before Dennis was leaving, it was asked of him, what are the maintenance things that would have to be done on the park if he was going to take it over? Dennis gave a list of all of the things that it takes to maintain that park, and so that he would need an additional person in order to do those things, that those fellow folks that were working there at that time could not handle all of that work. And he made that list up, and that was not of
That's
the
not
things.
correct.
Well, then you need to talk to Dennis specifically,
I
because
was part of making the list. That list was made up
he just about,
before-
he jumped right out and he said, when you said that before, that was completely wrong. So I'm retelling you
Okay,
what
but I
Dennis
know
said.
for a
And
fact
I'm
it
sure
was
he would
not.
come up here and explain that.
Well, Dennis aside, he's not here to defend himself, so.
What I'm saying is that,
Who was taking care of the roads while all this work was getting done? Because there's absolutely no way that this department did all that work and took care of everything else. There's no way.
Well, we know the ditching hasn't been done.
Well, it's not just ditching, it's
Sidewalks haven't been done.
mowing, there's all kinds of
All
other
they did
stuff
was
that.
mowing.
Brock,
You know, rather than throwing previous Public Works
Who did the
directors
work?
under the bus.
no, we have to have a clear list.
Why
Yes,
don't we
since last October, we've
concentrate
done the work that's
on
been
what
done.
Too
work,
many conversations going on.
what work needs to be done in the parks, not just Riverfront, but all of the parks. And all of the parks have been neglected to some extent. And let's keep our focus there instead of bashing previous.
Yeah.
I'm not bashing Dennis, I'm saying that that list is incorrect and is being misrepresented.
No, it is not.
Okay, well,
Absolutely
I'm
is
sure
not.
Dennis will watch this meeting and he'll
And
probably
he is
show up
welcome
and
to come
you
in
should talk to
and
him.
we'll have that conversation. But nevertheless, those items need to be done. So the question is, what do we need for crew to properly care for that infrastructure?
And that's what I had put
Do
down.
we have a full-time person and not a part-time person and continue to subcontract out the lawn maintenance? Do we have no full-time person and have a part-time person for summer? I mean, what do we do?
Oh, we have a full-time and a part-time that handles the parks and the mowing and the building maintenance, and then we have the other crew that takes care of the road work, and it all gets done.
Another option.
Instead of this gets done and this gets done on the park, and the park gets this and it's that, and this gets done, everything gets done. The roads get taken care of, the parks get taken care of, and in a sense, everybody's happy at the end. It's not, well, that didn't get done because we were busy doing the park, or the park didn't get done because we were busy doing the road.
I just want to reiterate that when you look at the 2017 budget figure in here, it includes 6 full-time people. So the 2018 number compared to the 2017 number for cruise wages is the same number of people, 6 full-time.
And I'm just basing it off me. When I was here, I didn't have 5 full-time people, there was 6. I wasn't here when there was only 5. I didn't.
You're saying from 218 to 226?
From 2017, looking at
Budget, the request?
right the request. So looking at the budget for 2017 of $218,000 for cruise wages, it's going up to $224,744 for cruise wages.
Okay, so I'm still on the old one.
And we're still doing 12.9 for part-time wages?
12.9 for part-time, and the 12.9 is 5 months of 40 hours per week for the 12.9, and in the 224,700, that the majority of that difference is related to some salary wage adjustments related to the crew.
And how many
Well,
full-timers?
let's hear about that.
Well, as I've been saying, I think it's time to make Leland the foreman of this crew. He's more than proved himself on, I don't even know how many levels. And I'm not saying let's give him $25 an hour. I'm saying let's give him, I think.
Do we need non-public?
Yeah, is it?
Not really.
No.
Wages
Let's
are
talk about that.
public
Wages are public
information.
knowledge anyway.
Unless you're going to
If you
talk
speak about
about
the
his
position.
capabilities or inabilities.
No.
If you're simply going
I
to
just-
talk straight wage,
Right, as
but we
foreman.
will not discuss any benefits.
Right.
So foreman would be $22.
Yeah, the foreman would be $22 an hour.
Why do we need to have a title on someone that's been doing that job right now? What is going to change from having that title than not having that title? I don't get that.
Has there always been a foreman at the highway department?
We've always had some problems with the highway department.
Now,
So-
can I ask an honest question right now? Is the highway department not running?
I think it's
Very well.
running very nicely right now. That's
Right.
why I'm saying, why do we need to add a foreman into that mix?
Because when I'm on vacation, there's absolutely nobody there
Then
to...
set him up as foreman while you're away and
I don't-
give him the wage for
I
then.
think the question is, why does the individual have to have a designated title?
Right.
If you leave for any reason, didn't you just say Leland is in charge? I think that's the
Leland is in
question.
charge. You have
You
that.
could, but then that takes away... There's
You want to give incentive
there's
for
incentive there
productivity.
for working that way, right? There is incentive for somebody working very hard to do it. So now I say, okay, Leland, here's this, and then when I'm gone, there's a figure there that makes decisions. Not we'll sit around and everybody makes the decision together.
But he's doing that now. Do you think that will change if he doesn't get if we don't put a classification next to his name? Do you actually think that that person that's doing the job is going to not do the job any longer because we're not putting a classification next to his name? Nobody promised that when he was hired.
Oh no, absolutely not. Absolutely
So-
not.
He's doing a great job, an exceptional job, and everything's working and flowing perfectly, well, very nicely, the highway department. So when you're gone, you appoint someone, this is the person I want to take my place.
Right.
But I don't understand why
So-
We need to put a title next to that person's
Okay.
name and give him, $2 or $3 extra an hour because he's got that title.
And that's not, I just,
We wanted to get away from that because there were so many issues with foremen, and it just clashed a couple years ago, and we wanted to get away from that. Now we've got it to a working, functioning highway department, which I'm very pleased with. I don't think that we need to just start promoting people because we can. It's a money issue.
and it is a money issue, it really is. That's what it
Doing
comes
the
down
same
to.
thing. That's all it is. It's just a
So
money issue.
let's say Leland says, okay, I go back and they say, we're gonna do away with the foreman's position. Well, what have I been working this hard for? What do I got to look forward to, you know what I mean?
When he came on this job, there was no foreman position.
At the time, because there wasn't a highway department, the highway department was in shambles.
And we had no intention of putting a foreman's position on.
Is that the board, you guys, none of you
Yeah.
guys didn't?
We just said somebody appointed to be in
Right.
charge while the director was out.
We did away with 2 foremans and set them back down to 2 regular positions.
Well, then, that's, okay.
Sometimes when you have a crew
Well,
and have, the boss, there's always a boss.
that there is.
Whatever the title, there's always a boss. And then under that, you have employees. And when you have employees that pretty much are on the same level, they have the same skill sets and whatnot, it is hard when you just go away and you say, okay, you're going to be boss while I'm gone. But that person doesn't have any special designation. They're not foreman, they're not boss, they're just one of the crew, just like everybody else. Sometimes that doesn't work. When you actually give them the title, employees perceive them as like, oh, that's the foreman, just like, oh, that's the public works director, or, that's the administrator. There's a perception, and employees tend to have more respect for the authority if they have the title.
And
that goes
and
with
this
it.
isn't something I'm just throwing, this was discussed with all the employees before I even brought this to the table, as to who they thought would be, and
Well, I think it should have been discussed with us whether we wanted a foreman or not first.
And that
before you went to
absolutely.
the employees. But
Well,
having said that,
You're taking away all my authority by doing that, every bit of it. Why am I even here for that matter?
for appointing a foreman,
Just talking with my men about doing stuff before I come and actually make a presentation for it.
for foreman.
Yeah, for anything. It's not even just foreman, Pat.
Creating a new position is
Right.
different. That's
no,
the whole
it was
structure.
just a discussion.
Right.
And your input is valuable. We
I-
need to hear it.
I
It's just
appreciate
a matter
that,
of
but it's-
talking it out and finding common ground here.
He's done a spectacular job. He works well with the crew. The crew works well with him. They respect him. When you're away, they respect him as in charge. I can't see changing that right now. Maybe in next year, maybe in the near future, but I can't see changing that right now. We've just done so well to get that department together.
So what happens if, let's just say for a scenario, Leland starts looking at this New Hampshire job board and says, well, there's 20 foreman's positions open. You guys don't want to treat me, the work I'm doing, I can go get, they're looking for these guys.
We can't live on whether or not
I
people
understand
are
that, but when we have a good
want to go
employee,
to
why
someplace
not
else.
hold on to them?
Samberton has a public works opening, I believe.
They do.
They got four
Well,
open.
the other
Good luck
question
over there.
is, so the increase that you're talking about, whether there's a title given to the position or not, is what?
The increase,
Yeah, it's-
$1.45.
so you're looking at what, less than $2,000 or, no, you're looking at what,
About
25, 3?
About 2,500 thereabouts.
So the majority of the increase is towards a new employee, a new full-time employee.
Right.
Right. About at least half.
So there's 2,500 just in case.
Yeah, it's more than
Right,
2,500.
it's
So is there any other wage adjustments in there?
There's one
There's
for
one
Raw,
other.
or excuse me, the other employee, when he has actually got a CDL that we can use.
He got that.
He does. He has a CDL,
restricted.
but it's restricted. He
Can't
can't
drive
drive
our
any of the big
trucks.
trucks. He has an automatic restriction
And when does that?
when he gets well enough in the trucks that he can do it. And this isn't a,
Who makes that decision?
the state. He has to go back
He
and
has to
take
go
the
back and
test.
test,
yes.
and what's the average time period for that?
It's all in how he picks up on the driving.
6 months, a year?
It's probably,
Years, 5
yeah,
years?
yeah, it's not gonna be 5 years, I don't think. It's, like I said, it's hard for me to put a number on it, because I don't know how long it's gonna take. Driving those big trucks isn't like jumping in your car or your, there's a lot more to it, especially now you gotta shift it too, instead of just looking at the road and going. There's a lot to it.
May I just offer an observation based on my 9 years of experience working with the town of Tilton? That I know in the past the moniker of the foreman didn't work out well for the town, but sometimes you see where there's almost an overreaction to, well, gee, that didn't work for us in the past, so we sort of punish the new, that's coming in and say, no, we're not going to do that because. And it could be, have a lot to do with the fact of the management layer before and the management layer now. That's why, from my vantage point, I think we've got very capable management in place to make sure that anything that's done like that would probably be much more successful than it had happened in the past.
Well, I think the question is, do we want to include $2,500 in the budget, or whatever it works out for FICA and everything else, for the possibility? I don't think tonight's night to decide whether we create a foreman position or not, but do we add
Right.
that monies to the budget for a possibility? I'm more concerned about the 94,546
I'm
for a part-time and a full-time employee.
Right.
And what combination? It sounds like the
I'm sorry, can you repeat what you just said? Because I'm looking for these numbers.
So the
94.
full-time position is 72,046, the part-time position of 12,500. That's 94,546.
There,
94,000.
946.
It's not additional to your 2017 budget,
She broke that down.
but it does represent.
In addition to our wages. So in other words, there's no savings that there might have been if we stuck to what we have now.
It's
By adding a full-time and a part-time, we're adding in wages $94,546.
well, maybe a different way to look at it. Not necessarily
I
a better
think
way.
it's
It would
time
be
the taxpayers reap some savings.
right. So what I'm saying is, it sounds as though that figure is in addition to our 2017 budget, which it is not.
No, it is not.
A different way of saying it would be
increases
that
it.
you could reduce your public works department by one full-time position and one part-time position and save $94,000, which that's true.
Like I said, it's time our taxpayers reap some savings. However, I do recall the days of our part-time winter help, not so much the summer help because there's not too much trouble you can get in, but the winter help, we had,
Difficulty, yeah.
I mean, the trackless, the poor thing was abused horribly. It was constantly being run over, rolled over, needing to be repaired and fixed.
Well,
So the
multi-one
there's
took
no
a
doubt
beating,
the
too.
equipment
Right.
took a beating. When you have full-time people, they become much more accustomed to
it's a tool for
the
them.
ways, the requirements, how the tools are used, how they're maintained, how they're cleaned, how they're cared for. So that's the question before us. Okay, I don't know, is that decision needs to be made tonight?
I can't tell you how many phone calls I'm still getting on the equipment that we just purchased for the highway department. Never mind now making a decision whether to add a full-time and a part-time wages on the highway department. It seems like it's always in the taxpayers' eyes.
It's funny though, I don't hear we're at the dump all the time, and I don't hear all this conversation about how the equipment is no good.
I borrowed my
It
cell
seems
phone
to
for the
come,
day.
it seems to come from a couple of different people, and that's it, and everybody else is like, now they're seeing, we've been using the excavator now because the backhoe is gone. We've been using the excavator for a week. There's 43 hours on that excavator. It's not sitting there in the garage getting shined up with a coat of wax and a bucket. We're using it. Take a ride around and look at some of the stuff we're doing.
I don't question that problem.
I don't understand. I understand with the equipment that, yes, we bought equipment, and beforehand, we were getting the equipment done with the backhoe. You're right, because nothing was getting done. We're doing work with this stuff. It's not sitting there. We're working with this stuff. We're actually doing what needs to be done. We're getting everything done, and we're getting more done than previous with the equipment. Yes, the equipment that they had for what was going on was fine. They were doing it was great, but it's time to step up the game a little bit before you can go with your blinders on for so long, but eventually somebody's going to have to fix the roads. And then what happens when they all fall apart?
I'm sorry.
If I could just point out something too, I think it's really important for the board to consider planning and what the model for each department should look like. And in the past, I've talked to the board about, the model for the police department. In other words, how many officers, what kind of supervision, what is the proper form for that department, so that when you have someone that is leaving or there's some attrition, do you fill that position or do you take advantage of the attrition? So, and in some respects, that's how I look at this staffing issue for Public Works, because here you had, a given level of staffing, and now you're considering whether we should go down or stay the same. And in effect, if there was an established model, we need so many people for this, there's so many hours of maintenance on this building, on that cemetery, to kind of figure out what the resources are and the resource utilization over the course of a year, then you can say, okay, yeah, we do need 5.5 people to be able to do this, or we need 6.5 people, but we can do it with 6 full-time. So it's that kind of thing where then this kind of discussion becomes much easier, because then this is what our model is for Public Works, for us to be able to provide these services to the citizens of the town of Tilton. And when there's an opening, whether you're going to fill it or take advantage of attrition. And make the adjustments to those models over the years, and it makes the decision much easier, I think. And it's just a planning suggestion for the board.
That being said, Tim, I think that is a very good point. If you remember back in July or so, when we were hiring for the position through attrition, and we were making a full-time hire, I was one of the advocates for making it keeping it a 6-person crew. And I still am an advocate for a 6-person crew because of the work that we have to do for the roads and towns. What I'm not an advocate for is to add that half a person on, because I think that 6-person is going to be plenty, and pay somebody with a title for the sake of a title. And I think we can talk about that. But back then, at the time when I tried to argue and say keep it a 6-person crew, you said no, we don't need it. I would really like to just do the one, and then the seasonal, and then maybe seasonal in the winter. I remember that like it was yesterday. And now here it is, budget time, and we want a full and a part-time. Well, why didn't we do that in July, like you said, plan ahead? We could have done it back then and justified it a little bit better, because we lost 2.
We weren't talking about Riverfront Park then.
We were talking about we dabbled in it.
The park commissioners had already contracted with Belknap Landscape.
Right, so that was...
Right. But we knew that we were going, at some point, entertain Riverfront Park. We knew that. We talked about it.
And that's what we're doing. We're entertaining Riverfront Park right now.
For 2018.
For 2018.
What's the time frame that we need this in by?
Typically, it's provided to the Budget Committee in November, before the end of the month.
So I have a couple ideas. If you're willing to work with me, maybe we can sit down and come back. I'm not ready to make a decision tonight. I don't know if anybody else is. If you're willing to do that,
absolutely.
there's some things that I see, and maybe like come to a compromise, or If
absolutely.
you want to do that.
No, that's fine. I have no issue with that.
I just want to
Instead of
confirm
the
what I
time.
asked you earlier, that if we continue to subcontract out the lawn maintenance
Yep.
of the parks, would you need the part-time person?
If you subcontract the mowing and everything, no, we can do it with the one full-time.
Does anybody else have any questions on
Now, can I bring something to attention right now? We've had that one of the other employees who has gone a lot. And it's nothing to do with his performance or anything, because that's good. But a lot of times we're shorthanded because he's gone doing stuff protecting our country, pretty much. But that being said, we still need the extra time when he's not here. He's gone for a month now.
This is the one we just hired?
Did we
Yeah.
figure out how often that would happen? Or
We were told it was
Ah.
going to be a couple of weekends.
Yeah, and it's a weekend a month, which isn't a big deal right now, but come wintertime when it's snowing, a weekend a month is a lot. And now, I mean, there's 2 weeks a year. There's a weekend a month, there's 2 weeks a year, and a month, the whole month of October.
So,
And his hire was conditional on a CDL. We may have a CDL, but it's not a CDL we can use.
it's a CDL.
He
That's
does
not
have a
what we can
CDL.
use.
He has a CDL. That's not the
That's
question.
not what we can use.
Well,
this,
no,
this
he
was
doesn't.
He
anticipated
doesn't have one that allows him to drive our trucks.
time off. This was anticipated time off.
Correct. Yeah, well, the month, I don't know, because I thought, I'm
We're
under the
getting into
assumption
personnel
that.
here, so.
Right,
Be careful
yeah.
what you talk about,
Okay.
please.
The month was not.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so,
All right, the other part of the budget, what do we have?
any
in-
more questions for Public Works?
Yeah, what do we have in here for merit?
2.5%.
2.5?
Everything's 2.5.
Okay.
What, except for union is different. Just curious, office supplies is doubled.
Just because I was restocking everything that wasn't there, so we we're using
I
a
didn't
lot
know
more.
if you went to some new system or,
But under part-time wages,
Before I forget, I know you, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'd like to do away with the uniform line. Well, not do away with the uniform line, I'd like to do away with the uniform company and give each man a stipend of $400 to buy their own jeans. Because some of us are bigger than other ones, and some jeans don't. As long as they're jeans and they stay the same, and the town will provide the sweatshirts and the t-shirts, which is going to come in. I think we're at $3,000 right now for that, and it's going to save. It's not a huge savings, but it's $2,600 to do it the way that I've proposed it. Excuse me, with giving them each a stipend to buy their own pants. I mean, it's half the time nobody's wearing them anyway
So it's
because
a
they don't
saving of
fit.
400?
Yeah.
yeah, but did you include the boots in the?
Well, the boots, I thought the boots was a different line than the.
I don't know, I'm
Yeah,
asking
no.
you.
It was
now.
under
Why did you
uniforms.
put
The
it-
boots is in a safety.
it's in the,
Where is the boots?
I shall look. We shall see.
Safety equipment?
Yeah.
Saving $400?
Yes, over the.
We increased the boots last year, remember?
Yes.
Is that included too?
It is, yeah.
Seven and a halves.
So-
Seven and a halves.
Well, who's got 7.5s?
The boots they
Bronzing
have.
those for the
You're gonna have to double those up and then put another half on it.
This is my ignorance, but $400 for
Savings.
a year. No, 400
Oh, for each person, yes.
a year.
Yes.
So what
No, not for each
makes
person.
it,
I'm sorry, what?
okay, in total?
Yeah.
No, how much, what is the stipend per person?
It
for
would be,
jeans?
just for jeans, it would be each guy gets $400
And that's for what?
to buy their jeans.
Are they specialized?
Well, no, but,
Are they double?
yeah, it could be whatever they want as long as they're all uniformed to the same color. As
That
long
seems
as-
outrageous to me. Per year, $400
At
per person.
$50.
Unless there's
doesn't.
something I'm missing.
It really doesn't, because
They run between $50 and
Right.
$60.
$60 a pair.
And at
And they
$50
wear out
is
at the end of the year?
eight pairs, that's 8 pairs a year.
Well, they get dirty and they get ruined or ripped or
They get
torn.
torn.
Really?
Oil.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's oil and grease and whatnot.
No.
And
Well, yeah, they're gonna be.
And you don't
Right.
want them representing you, looking like.
Would
Well,
that,
so when they get their new jeans, how?
Shows they're working.
That's-
I don't think that's priority.
The boots are
I-
charged to
one
Then the
safety
jeans will
equipment.
get dirty as well.
Yeah, no, you're right, they're all, everything's gonna get dirty, it doesn't, that wasn't the big concern, it was like, the jeans that we get from the uniform company don't fit anybody right, and nobody likes to wear them, so they don't get worn. So we're ultimately paying for them to do it.
that stipend, would that be a reimbursed stipend or
I-
just
I-
handing it over?
Well, the truck comes, the BB chain truck, and he has all the different pants and the safety clothes. So if they wanted to buy it that way, they could buy it off the truck, or they get their jeans and then they bring it in and give me a receipt for it, and I turn it in and they get the stipend for their pants.
So, yeah, so
And
they would have to actually use it.
Right, we're not gonna
so-
write them a check for $400 and
Okay.
say, here, go get your clothes. It's gonna be used for that purpose. And the t-shirts and the sweatshirts, I'll get myself for everybody.
Is this based on a crew of 6.5?
Yes. Yep.
The boots are charged to the safety equipment line. Just to
And you've
confirm that.
included the increase, because we said 2 times a year, right? Did we go 2 times?
No, you increase the amount. for the-
Yeah, I don't think we need 2 times a year, that's,
You increase the amount.
We said we would look at it.
There's enough boots there for 6.5 people?
yeah.
And does the
Yes.
half person get the stipend for uniforms?
You get a left.
You get a left
boot.
So
It's
it'd be-
one boot and 2
Yeah,
t-shirts.
so it'd be 6. All right.
And a
Any
half a
more
sweatshirt.
questions for Highway's budget?
What, there's probably a reason, so the dollar amount and the $1 in the equipment,
That's just to keep the line open. That's all that does, is to keep the line item open.
okay.
In training,
Yep.
what do you have, what are your thoughts on the training going forward for 2018 for the men?
Well, I'd like to see everybody at least be up to road scholar position by the end of 2000, and everybody's been working to do that, so it's just,
Aren't there different levels of road
yeah,
scholar?
there's a
1,
lot,
2,
yeah.
3, or 4?
Yep. Well, now, there used to be Master Road Scholars as high as you could go, and now there's Master Road Scholar 2. Which, I'm halfway to that right now.
How many are training for the herbicide pesticide?
Right now, it's just myself. It just, I didn't realize what went into it.
It takes a long
It's-
time.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
The dollar to keep the line open, I get it. What are the consequences of closing the line? Because we don't anticipate spending.
Well, you can't put it back in.
You can't, but
You wouldn't be able to spend money for that purpose.
we don't intend to.
For which particular line?
Equipment purchase.
For any line that you're putting $1 in, really,
Depends, it's there in case something extraordinary
Yeah,
right.
happens.
If something
You didn't think
happened.
of.
In other words, it gives you the ability to move money from other lines into that
I get
line.
it. It just feels
So-
like we should, it feels like I would prefer a budget that reflects accuracy. So it almost feels like a loophole, or, it's,
Well, without a dollar in those lines, then the board would not have authorization to spend for that purpose, basically.
get it.
It doesn't really.
If all the
matter what these
lawnmowers
are
fell off
actually
the back of the
only
truck.
is your bottom line number.
I picked up a leaf blower, power broom the other day,
Where?
right by your house.
Really?
Yeah, I gave it back. It came off the back of Kenny Partridge's
It must have
driveway.
been mine.
It must have been. It must have been.
Any more questions for the highway budget
Yes.
tonight?
Miscellaneous expenses, what are those?
I just have that line, John, in case something comes up that we're unprepared for, like, let's say, like this last thing, we're getting close on budget with the truck and we lost the power steering pump in the Peterbilt, which is a lot of money. It's for miscellaneous, anything that happens beyond,
Slush
Do we
fund?
have a
Slush.
repair?
it is, but it's.
But
to
how
the-
many does he have? If he only has one,
Yeah, I have
that's a
one.
good thing.
Yeah, I don't have,
Here's with the fire district, they had them
So-
3 or 4 throughout.
yeah, and I don't have that.
No.
It's for emergencies or if something catastrophic happens.
So if I asked where you could cut 2.5% from the total highway department budget, where would you cut it from?
You see $2.
I already took all the money for me out.
He did. I've cut everything.
How much salt and sand do you have right now in storage?
Not much. I've got enough to do probably one storm of salt. I've got enough sand probably to do, depending on the storm now. If it's an ice storm, I don't have anywhere near enough.
All right, that answered my question.
But to answer that, the price that we pay for, the price that I got for the sand this year, I can buy all the sand we need for the whole year for, I think it was $3,400.
Nice.
So I got a good price on sand. I shopped around a little bit.
Not a Bosco one?
No, right over here, Jeremy. Is it Jeremy? No, Pike.
Pike?
Oh yeah,
So I guess we're not
he
gonna
wasn't
cut-
having them taking the business.
We're not gonna cut anything out of
It
salt and
was-
I was
sand.
gonna say, they'll give you the stone dust.
He was writing.
Yeah, that-
He was writing on toilet paper when he filled it out. The stone, that ledge pack, I can't even
Right.
begin to. What
No, I had
they're
a-
buying it for.
Neighbor call around and he had it delivered, it was like half the price.
Yeah, that's,
Delivered.
and that's just from shopping around to
Yeah.
find the right price, you know?
Saying overtime, we've got that up a lot. One of the things that, when we bought a lot of the new equipment, was supposed to cut back on the man hours and stuff like that. And, if we were to get a part-time, would that offset part of that overtime? I mean, that
And you know
keeps
what?
going up.
It could, and you know what else I think is I'm keeping an eye on right now that is maybe offset something is, now that you guys have put into place and it's starting to work correctly, the whole dump thing, the whole curbside, we're not getting even a quarter of what we were getting at the transfer station as far as volume. It's, I mean, on a Wednesday, if we get 6 or 8 bags, we've done well. So, and Saturday, you could sit there, Johnny sat there and he's like, the last hour we got 7 cars, but I didn't have nothing all day. So we might be able to start looking into maybe, because this seems to be working well, and it's going, the first initial part of it was a little bit, people were a little bit uptight about it, but they've come into it and it seems to be working out pretty well as far
So
as.
are you talking decreasing hours there?
Yeah, I think so, like because we're paying overtime every Saturday for somebody to be at the dump. So we could also have the overtime guy, the part-time guy working the dump, where we're not paying him overtime, we're just paying him straight time.
Or could you,
Give them a day off
You know.
on the weekend.
yes,
And you could, you could do that too. We could also do that.
The lion's share of the overtime's gotta be for winter maintenance.
And it is, and last winter was not like a normal winter. Last winter there was a lot more work.
Can we take a look at that overtime, see,
Right.
get back to us?
Yeah, no, and that's,
See if, what a good way to
I did
tweak
put that
that.
a little high just
Okay.
because I can't, like I said, I can't predict the weather. If we get pounded with snow and to keep the level of service that we did last winter on these roads, which was very, very good, it takes a little bit more, but you get a lot more.
shall we move on to PD?
The other thing I was wondering about, building repairs, what are we looking at for things that need to be done?
That build, the salt and sand shed is going to need some serious attention. If you come down, I was gonna give you a call to have you come down and take a look with me, because the back wall is bowed,
Oh, no?
and we've repaired it as much as we can, and I think it's gonna get through
Cut
the
the
winter,
trees
but
in back and let them lean against it.
just hold it up. But at some point, we're gonna have to address the salt and sand shed. It's definitely gonna have to have some.
How's the rest of the building heating system? and all
Everything
that?
seems to be working good, with the exception that we're spending a crazy amount of money
On
draining
the-
the septic tank every month. I've never seen any, I don't know, we're taking 2,000 gallons a month out of that thing. It's,
What is your
Why?
solution?
because I got a funny feeling there's groundwater getting in there. We don't have a septic. It's a tank. It's a holding tank. It's a holding tank. But this would be a question for you. Am I under the impression that line's gonna go, or it's trying to go?
It's going to go eventually. I can't tell you when. We're trying to get the design work started so
Right.
that we're a year away before even coming to the
Okay, so,
taxpayers.
the town should have entertained just running the line from there across Route 3 and then down, because it isn't that far down the road. We would,
That's a lot.
we've spent that money it would have cost in pumping. Oh, yeah. In 18, what is this, 17 years that the building's been up?
at $300 a month for 17, well, I'm sure it wasn't that back then, but
It was up there.
we spent a lot of money doing it, that's for sure.
Problem, yeah, you could do it, it's just not the design we need because there's going to be a pump station right around
Yeah.
that brook.
Yeah, but this is after the brook. The brook is east of it, so we could have gotten away with. But anyway,
But
it
that's
is-
a different
it's
matter,
neither here
that's-
than there. It's shoulda, woulda, coulda. All right.
So you're gonna come back next week and, or
Yeah.
we're gonna just look at it next week? and-
Do we want to continue budget discussion next week? Or while
Is
we're-
that
Oh, yeah.
enough time
keep it
for,
rolling?
what, you guys wanna,
Yeah, I can meet anytime.
All right.
okay.
Thank you, Brock.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, we have a non-public scheduled for 6:15. I think the police discussion is going to take more than 8 minutes.
It's gonna be a non-public.
Yeah.
Just a couple of minutes and we'll be done. Make a motion, we go into non-public for RSA 91A:3, that which discussed in public would adversely affect the reputation.
Second,
Roll call vote, please.
Fogg, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
St. John, yes.
Constantino, yes.
Dawson, yes. Motion to seal the minutes of non-public session as they pertain to,
That which discussed in public would adversely affect the
like she said.
Second,
reputation.
Roll call vote, please.
Scanlon, yes.
Fogg, yes.
St. John, yes.
Constantino, yes.
Dawson, yes. I was going to say employees. I'm like, wait, that's not employees. All right, PD, back into the
So,
budget.
just the 35,000. Okay? 50,000.
Was that a good couple hour prep?
That's not money. She's trying to keep it all level. Yeah.
Okay. Questions for the PD on their budget, remembering that we will have them back for another visit.
Could I just give a brief overview?
No. Of course. Please
Just-
do.
So each year, I do two things. I talk to certain people in the PD to see what they think we might need going into the next year, if we can reduce anything, and then that usually includes the captain, Sergeant Morrison. Captain oversees all the highway safety grants, and Sergeant Morrison, vehicle maintenance, and then I talk to Detective Buffington, and then I'll talk to Lisa and kind of get a snapshot of what we might need and what we might be able to cut back on. Then I'll sit down with Tim, and Tim and I sit down together every year. We'll look at a 3-year average for electricity, for heat, for fuel, and we put our heads together and try to come up with a number that we think is going to work, but not too high, not too low. And so we did all of that this year. You'll see some lines went up, some went down. We took out about 5,200 out of the lines below wages, and then we added 7,200. But of the 7,200, 3,000 is highway safety grant money, which is 100% reimbursed. So if you take the 3,000 out of that 7, actually those numbers are driving the operating costs down a little bit below wages. And what that 3,000 represents is the LiDAR and the radar unit for the vehicle if we do a vehicle next year. It's always better to take it out of grant money than have to put it in the budget. And so besides that money for the LiDAR and radar, the captain kind of speak briefly about what we do with the other grant money from highway safety.
So we get reimbursed for our overtime to put out those extra patrols for the bike patrol and the step enforcement, which is a traffic enforcement program. And I was pretty proud because as of Wednesday, I had completed all our 2017 paperwork for reimbursement for those grants. I'm a few days ahead of the deadline, and then today I got 5 grants in for the 2018 that I have to process now and start. But we were able to supplement extra coverage during the concerts on Sundays with the bike patrol. We had a lot of positive feedback with that, and all those bike patrols were reimbursed 100% for the overtime, which is excellent. And then we got the speed enforcement. Well, it's more than speed enforcement. It's like hands-free. It's any traffic violation we can enforce with an overtime grant. Little blocks of time, so our officers don't go over their cap of hours and stuff like that. Usually early mornings and afternoons, whenever we have heavy traffic, we can get an extra car out there, and it's not really costing the town anything because they're getting reimbursed. Oh, yeah, vehicle maintenance, we went up in that line, and it's more because we are now using all-wheel drive vehicles. There's more power going to the wheels and more stuff to wear out. So we're seeing an increase in wear on the tires. We're replacing what's called strut tower bearings. It allows the struts to turn in the front when cars are making U-turns and stuff like that. Those are wearing out a little bit beyond the warranty. And so
These are the frontline ones?
these are any of the all-wheel drive ones. We're seeing it more in the higher mileage front-wheel drive or frontline cars. We've seen it in the 5 and the 3s, and I don't know about the 4, but we have had to replace a couple of those. We're seeing an increase in brake replacement, and Kevin is a excellent mechanic. He's helping pick up on these and keeping these cars on the road, flushing transmissions and flushing coolant, and we're getting longer life out of them, but we're trying to keep them on the road as much as possible to do those extra grant patrols and to make sure we got enough cars out there.
Did anybody get Jane? I'm sorry.
No, she had to leave.
I'm sorry to interrupt, I just realized.
Does Peter have a question?
Peter has a question.
I wait patiently.
He does.
So we budgeted 12.5, you're asking for 17.5, but this year we spent 57 grand in round numbers. So if we spent 57 this year and we're only budgeting 17.5, are we going to have another big shortfall next year, or what was the big hiccup this year?
I don't know where the 57.5 came from.
Is that accurate, Tim?
I'm trying
Tim put it there.
Where are you looking?
Vehicle maintenance.
Page 5, bottom line.
$56,981.
Am I the only one that highlighted?
No, that's got to be an error. I
It's
defer that question to Tim. Yeah,
Thank you. I just, because if that was true, I'm going, how can we?
No, that's got to be an error. I'll check into that.
Good, because that would help me to determine whether we're good at 17.5.
It's a new car.
And this budget is
is.
10,457.
It's more than a new car.
We better go check. Maybe there is one.
10,457 is what it was on
I did have
9/28.
trouble just prior to coming up with the report, so it's a short week.
So how many of these vehicles are going to be out of warranty for this particular issue?
Well, it's usually when they go over mileage,
With high mileage.
Which puts them out of warranty?
which puts them out of warranty.
How many would that be? 3, 2, 1?
I think 3 are still under warranty right now.
And by sometime next year, they probably won't be.
one
Well,
will
when
be
we
not.
get a new car, that one will be under warranty too, and then
I like the
it'll fall off.
Some of the upsides of what the changes we made is, getting the tire machine, doing our own inspections. Kevin's really taken, and Nate combined have taken this project to heart to make sure that there's some consistency through the whole fleet. We're not just maintaining the front ones, but all of them. And he's really, they're both putting their heart and soul into the fleet. And I think with all-wheel drive, they feel like when they change the tires, it won't be two, it'll be all. Kevin wants to keep up a program of flushing all the coolants, the
But it's
transmission
interesting that we
fluids.
purchase vehicles that we anticipate that as soon as the warranty runs out, they're gonna need some expensive repair work.
All vehicles are gonna need repair work. High
Like
mileage.
somebody who's got a 1994 Suburban.
And
Okay,
it's
let's let 8 other people drive it.
No, but when you go to fix your new one, it's gonna take
Oh,
some
that
money.
black one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not, that's why I got the 1994.
Right.
But I mean, it just seems interesting. I mean, wouldn't extending the warranty have been an option? I mean, it probably isn't now, but
Well, your extended warranty is about $2,500 to $3,000.
really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
They started
Give them the
2,500.
right money
Yeah,
to do it.
I mean, just a strut bearing that's under $200, so, I mean, they're pretty easy to do. They're real quick to do, quick job.
How many do you
Right,
have?
and we have Kevin do it.
Yeah,
It's
so,
just, we wanna make
But
sure
you're looking
that they're not down for days while we wait for parts.
so it's not like, the car is no good because it's, and I'm not saying that you're saying that. I'm just letting Catherine know that there could be a lot of those $50, $100, $500 in time down expenses that.
All right, so you went up on the vehicle maintenance because some of them are out of warranty. Just to recap, Jane, because Jane just walked in.
And then, and to recap for James, the other one was
Grant expense.
grant highway safety.
And that's
So,
reimbursable.
Reimbursable, we put the radar and LiDAR for the next vehicle in there because the radars are all old, obsolete, out of date. So rather than try to buy it just in like a equipment purchase line, we'd rather do it in a grant line, let the state pay for it. So that 3,000's totally 100% reimbursable.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that wherever you see something that's 100% reimbursable, you'll see the same amount in the revenues. So that's the offset.
What do you have under investigation expense? It looks like you have 60% additional tools in the inventory here. So what is that?
So one of the increases we saw in the last year with some of the bigger sexual assault cases is, anywhere from 500 pages to 2,000 pages of transcription, huge cases. And so they did have to sub some of that out, which is pretty common for the big cases. We did that for the K Jewelers robbery, because it's beyond what Lisa could keep up with. And so there was a lot more transcription with those sexual assault cases this year than in prior years. And then just the training for some of the devices like the Cellbrite that they use. And now they're using some technology that I'd probably want to go into non-public about that.
Okay.
They needed a little extra money in there. And so Nate said between the technology and the training for it and then the transcription that he thought that he needed that much. So, but to try and offset that, Tim and I went through and we tried to figure out what lines, for every line that we went up a little on, that we could cut back on some. And if you back out that highway safety reimbursement piece, we pretty much got it just about even.
I'm concerned with the legal expense for only $2,500. I just,
But if they don't anticipate anything all of now, and heaven forbid something took place, you can't plan for everything. And that's what your reserve fund would be there for, because it'd be an emergency situation. Or you'd have to spend down the rest of the selectmen's budget first. But you could reimburse it through that way. I mean, we shouldn't be sitting here anticipating being
Right.
sued, being, you know,
Right.
unless you know of a case that seems to be litigious, but
No, and that,
big question.
yeah.
But that is
Can you explain that again, Ted?
that is low.
What, so what are you saying, why wouldn't we anticipate that? There's been a change, like, these were prior cases that,
Well, no, one of the 15,000, part of the 15,000 was contract negotiations, so that was a big chunk.
but what about the five?
The other one, we had some cases that were anticipated. They took some lawyers and legal expenses, but the chief
Those are
doesn't have
behind
any.
us, yeah.
They're all behind us, and he doesn't anticipate any. That's
Those are
why it's so
ones-
low
yeah.
at 2,500. If it does go above that, in the event it goes above that, we have to take it from a different line in the selectmen's budget.
And in the event of litigation too, our insurance also will cover certain things, so. Plus we also have an attorney on staff as well.
Yes, that's true too.
But we may want to come back and address that because it is.
It's the lowest it's been since we've been here.
Yeah, I know. It's low.
Well, 2015 was a year following a contract, a new contract,
Right.
and we had no expense for legal during that year in the PD. So that's kind of how we were looking at, you know, putting some money in, but anticipating because it's a new contract, it's already in place, and there were no other items identified. That's why we had lowered that.
It's enough money if we needed to get some advice and I had to pay for it, it's in there.
Even with a new department or expanded department, you still anticipate that it would be low?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim and I talked about it, this line for a while. when
Mhm,
went
we
through
did.
this and felt pretty comfortable.
Okay, if you're comfortable with it. I'm good with lowering the budget, that's for sure.
Pistol range expense, can we pull that down at all?
Yeah, so
On what, John, did you say?
The 655, line 6.
Pistol range expense.
Pistol range, okay.
Yeah, so Luke started to order the ammo. He's going to do all the quals this fall. We met about it a couple weeks ago, and he kind of holds off on getting the ammo towards the end of the year. And you know, Tim and I talk about expenses and when's a good time and when's not. And he asked if we could hold some stuff towards the end of the year, and so we did. And once he gets through all the quals, that'll pretty much be used up. Some of the ammo might come in after the end of the year. We've run into that before, especially with rifle ammo. But when we came up with that number, it was calculated off of X number of qual courses per officer, and then, you know, skill building per officer per gun, which is
I think we're looking at
shooting on the move and stuff.
I think we're looking at a different number. I'm looking at pistol range expense, it's only been like $52, not the ammo.
Yeah, look
Yeah,
at
that-
weapons expense.
Weapons. So the pistol range would be taking them to Belmont during inclement weather, qualifications during the wintertime. We've kind of been lucky in the last year or so. We've been able to use Franklin, but you know, I'm told that may be coming to an end. Certainly with weather, he's going to have to take some people over to Belmont, but that leaves money for targets and the expenses to go over there. We get charged hourly.
I don't know if you looked at the history of that.
Yeah. I mean,
The most we've ever, well, 2013, I'm not sure. But it was $565 and $73, $182, $52 so far this year, and we're budgeting 1,000.
yeah, and, you know, there might be a little bit of room there.
Just try and get them as close as possible.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
It's gonna count,
no,
because we want to help out
So
other
if-
agencies.
what do you mean a little bit of room?
I mean, if you know, if we spend $500 a year, I'm banking on that Luke can get most of it done in good weather and minimizing the use of Belmont. But it, like Brock talked about, weather, we can't count on it all the time in the range that they let us use. We can't planned that every year they're gonna let us use it because it's a private range.
And it's a change, or is it a new?
Well, over in the last 6 months, I think they've changed some, maybe membership down there or something, and Luke said that he may see that come to an end, and I don't know. It's not owned by the city of Franklin, it's a private club. So, if that goes down, then it'll only be Belmont. We won't be able to probably go anywhere else.
Probably a good thing to do would be to determine how many, if you were to have to use Belmont, what would be the total cost for maximum, and then engage.
Go from
based
there.
on-
Yep.
And can you communicate with them and find out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Plan on doing that for the year or not?
Do you know? Yeah. I know Luke was going to try and come up tonight if it was quiet, just for this, but I'll get the answer. I know.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like on the building improvements, you're anticipating keeping it kind of relatively the same, correct?
Correct, yeah. I mean, right now, especially with the...
New uniforms, what's the difference there?
Yep, so
You
New Year...
spent 10,000, you're gonna go 14, oh, you budgeted 14, so you're gonna go 500 of that.
Yeah, and I think Cap was just talking about polos for the dispatchers, so that they look professional and all match when they're up there, and then vest money comes out of that as well.
What line is that for?
Plus their stipend.
Bottom of page 5,
Bottom of page 5,
600.
5 up,
What's the number?
on the bottom, 600. At the end, 178421099 Yeah, I'm good with it. But you have 2% for you. And officer wages,
Well, no, what you haven't seen reflected yet in the budgeted lines for 2017 are the distribution of the merits to the individual salary lines. So once you see that, the increase it'll look more like the
more
2.5%.
realistic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just need time to. It's a pretty laborious thing, so I just need time to prepare that for the board to sign, so we can do the budget transfers from the merit line into the individual, all the individual lines that they work into.
Why is compensated absences at 4,000? And if you look back as far as 2013, when we spent the most was $3,004, but it doesn't look like there was any expense in 2014. 2015 was $1,200, $564. I mean, why 4,000? What are you anticipating?
Well, you have to anticipate it. It has to be there if everybody wanted to buy it out.
If they couldn't use a vacation, because we had, like if we had, God forbid, another K. Jewelers size big case, and we ran into that back in 2011 where detectives couldn't take any time off because of the nature of that case. Those kind of unforeseen circumstances, we can't plan for it. You hope that it doesn't happen, but if it does, I have to cash them out. So.
And the policy is that as of the end of October, under ordinary circumstances, they can't accrue any more comp time.
Right.
So
You have to buy it out.
at the end of the year, if
At the
there's
end of the
still a balance, that's correct.
And we still have quite a bit of balance in there. Well, I shouldn't say quite a bit. It's okay. I think the most we have is like 20 hours or so
Yeah.
per person.
So it's not in this budget, but it is in our budget for IT, is the evidence processing module for $2,500.
Yeah, and
450 is, additional 450 is a yearly fee.
After the first year, so there's a one-time cost of $2,500, and then starting the year, 1 year after, it's $450 annually. And it's a module of the existing software that we use, that we have an $8,000 annual maintenance fee on. So this would be added on to that. You wouldn't see a separate line. It'd be $8,450 roughly. It's a little more than 8,000 right now.
How great is the need for this evidence processing module?
so I wanted to just talk about it. So our record management system, IMC, is what tracks evidence in and out of the building, in and out of court. And every piece of property, so not just evidence, but found property, found wallets, everything, gets a number and it goes into that system, and it all ends up in the evidence room. And that includes evidence and non-evidence, which is property. And the best practice is to audit that annually, even better practice biannually. If we would ask one of the officers who's an evidence tech to go down there and audit that room, it could take 2 or 3, 4 weeks. We wouldn't see him for a month. And when you barcode everything, you literally can do that same job in a day or two. And it also is considered a best practice. Some of the area PDs like Laconia PD and some other of the I guess accredited departments around the state have already taken that step. If you go to the class for evidence management, they highly recommend it. I talked to Tim and a couple of board members. I think if we can find the money this year and not put it in the budget, that might be a better approach. I'm just
It's always better to spend money you've already raised and appropriated than to raise and appropriate it in another year. But, so, worst case scenario, it isn't purchased. What would you continue to do?
Well, I mean, we have to do audits. It's just, the difference is paying an officer to be down there for 3 to 4 weeks versus having someone down there for a day. So it would pay for
If you bought the
itself.
module, how long would it take someone to barcode everything?
Barcode everything that's already existing.
Isn't that what you'd have to do?
And then start everything coming in. So,
Yeah, so how long would it take to get you barcoded?
Probably a couple weeks.
A couple weeks, because then they're also going to be purging the stuff that we can get rid of at the same time that has no value to hold on to anymore.
So we may get rid of a bunch just doing the same 3 to 4 week audit manually.
Right.
Mm.
It just makes room for new stuff to come in.
What's the priority of the audit?
it's to track all the evidence and property in and out of the room. The one thing that keeps chiefs up at night, besides an officer involved shooting or an officer getting hurt, is evidence rooms. It's the one thing that we don't want to ever have a problem with. And so I've always made sure the guys or the officers that work down there get the best training possible. And they've all said it's really the safest and best way to keep track of all that property.
I don't understand. Tell me why. Like, why is that?
Because if you're down there for 3-4 weeks auditing and you get tired and you're down there for long days and you make a mistake or you miss a piece,
Why is it?
and that gets magnified where it doesn't get picked up in the audit, and then all of a sudden now the audit's complete and it's like, holy crap, there's a gun missing, there's some drugs missing. Now a team of people have to go down there and redo that whole room and find out where did that go. But if you look at a shelf with a bunch of evidence and property on it and it's all barcoded, you just take a scanner like you see in a supermarket and you go down that shelf, that scanner's automatically telling our record management system that piece of property is in our room. And it's not guessing, it's saying it is there. And so you literally go down that shelf in a matter of seconds, you can do a shelf and tell the computer system 20 pieces of evidence are on that shelf. If not, you have to go look at each tag, pull the number, check it in the computer system, or enter it into the computer system. It would be like tagging all the property in a grocery store and trying to account for what's in there. And it's that type of time saving, and I think it's also just, it reduces liability for us as a town.
Yeah, I think ideally we would have one, but I think in trying to save money, I'd prefer to not do that, just because we did the dispatch and just, it seems to me not priority in terms of everything else that we have to spend on. I think we should do an audit now, and if that takes 3 to 4 weeks, you know, that's what it takes, and try to get rid of as much as we can possibly, and then follow policy and future audits, and obviously be careful with guns and that's my thought. Unless you guys want to sway me to why we need it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a $35,000 increase in information technology, then that doesn't include Tim's wages. That's an increase, so that budget is getting huge.
That's
I'm
for
wondering
this
how much would be,
evidence thing?
you know, it doesn't show up in the police department budget per se, but a lot of these belong to your department, and they keep growing and growing and growing. And I think we need to really figure out where we're going with this. Every time we add a module or something on, you know, what is it going to cost us next year and the year after?
I don't follow where you see the $35,000 increase, though.
He's looking actual
Well, if you-
spent to what's budgeted. I
It's
think.
$1,700 increase.
Expense, okay, all right, okay. No, I'm in error here. Okay, so I'm looking at, we're budgeting,
It's 94,051.
95.8 versus 94.
okay, I picked up the wrong number.
You saw the actual, I think, today,
Yep.
the 60.
Oh, okay.
That's what.
So,
A lot of this is back-end loaded.
Right.
yeah.
Gets paid in December.
Another reason why not to rush into these, wait until December is.
Yeah, I'm concerned about those numbers, is the amount that we're spending on software services, the licensing.
I mean, another thing I mentioned too is I can try and find it with a grant as well, so.
Well, absolutely, if we can do that.
Except, here's the thing about the grants, and, you know, like the Tilton School will give us money every year. You know, they're great neighbors, they're great community involvement, but sometimes we can use that to reduce the bills that we have now, apply them to things, as opposed to purchasing a new thing that's going to encumber us for years going forward. So it doesn't mean it's free because we're going to use grant money. If we can use it towards something that we already have, you know, it's like if somebody's having a sale, look at all the money we're going to save, but it's still, you're spending money out of your pocket. And that's what we're trying to do, is reduce some of those numbers or stabilize them.
I know, like with Cellbrite, we wrote a grant to 3M, and they covered the cost for it. If we already had it, and I asked them to pay the annual cost, I'm not sure I would have got the grant, but it was something new, and I think sometimes these companies want to help us get a new technology, so they might be less inclined to help me if I say, we already have it, can you help me sustain it? But I'm not saying they won't, but it's just writing the grants. I know with 3M, I went through that process with Cellbrite, and for a while there I wasn't sure if I was going to get it, and then we made a compelling argument, and they did end up covering it for us.
You know, if we need money for keeping up the bike patrols, and we need new batteries for the bikes, you know, you guys want to help us out sponsoring the bike things, you know, we ride up through.
Kind of adopt the program for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
And so, because they're going to spend, like 3M every year will spend some money, you know, and Tilton School, and there's, well, you know only too well.
I think like Tanger kind of did that with the motorcycle for a while, and certainly Eric would be, I think, supportive of helping maintain the bike unit going forward.
And
That was something they helped us start, so.
It's in adding the expenses, that was
Right.
what I'd like to that.
Any other questions on the PD budget?
Yeah, back to the evidence thing. Can we wait on that? Can we come up with a better system? Because not only is it the initial expense, it's the $450 annually.
But isn't the barcode the most efficient system to keep track and maintain everything from this point forward?
Well, I
And
don't
if you have to
think-
do a quick check, I can,
I don't think we have accurate numbers. It sounds like you guys haven't been auditing it, so it sounds like there can be a lot of stuff.
They do, and when she's down there for weeks. So I have to usually pay a part-time officer to come in so she can stay down there. So I'm paying one way or the other. It's just paying in a different way.
I had a question about the barcodes. So they put like, let's say they had a gun, so they put a barcode on the gun?
Everything that
They
goes
would
in
have
that
barcode.
room.
So when you go down there and you read the barcode, the only thing you're actually doing is verifying that you have a barcode. It doesn't tell you that that is what the barcode should be. You know what I'm saying? So let's say somebody,
It probably does.
It does,
well,
yeah.
well, if somebody's going, you said they can just go bing, bing, bing like that, okay? Somebody could put that barcode on it, that with the barcode on it. Barcodes could be mismatched to the wrong things, and then when you do it, yep, you got it, but somebody still has to go back and physically audit that barcode matches what it should be on and do that, so.
It's part of
not
the
good.
training class, Cap.
Yeah, it's just limited access to that. It would be an evidence tech, and we only have 3 now, but only 2 are actually actively involved in it. So that narrows down who's going to be dealing with those bar tabs, and those barcodes are assigned to that item. So when you scan it, it pulls up, hey, it's a firearm, or it's a stolen property, or whatnot. And it'll give a location too, because you barcode the location, like a shelf, top
Page
shelf.
8.
Right.
But see, when thinking is, you know, okay, a barcode consists of 10 numbers. That's it. It's going to pop up. But for $450 a year plus $8,000, we're saving somebody from going like that, and I can't see how that saves 4 weeks.
Yeah, the
Right.
module's 2,500.
2,500.
Right.
And then $450 a year.
$450 per year, right, for maintenance. That's correct.
I just, you know, spreadsheets.
does the barcode just identify the piece of evidence, or doesn't it tie it back to a case?
It does tie it back to a case.
And if you had, say, multiple pieces of evidence, would they have like the same barcode, maybe
No.
dot A, B, C?
Individual barcodes for
Okay.
each piece of evidence. And this way we can track it when we have to send stuff down to the lab. It gets barcode read, it says it went down to the lab for testing or whatnot, and then if it's brought back, it gets re-entered in that it is in our storage
So
area.
it sounds like the initial process of you having this device going down into our current evidence room that doesn't have barcodes, that would be quite tedious. Because someone would have to obviously enter all the information relating to the piece of evidence into the device. You'd have to tell it, okay, this number is recognizing all this stuff in this bag.
Well,
Or-
and each
I
piece
mean,
of
you've got to
property
give it the
has,
information for it
each-
to digest it.
each current piece of property has a property number, so they could probably, and we might have to check with IMC, but pull up that property number and then assign it a barcode number now.
But they'd have to verify, as
All
John
that.
said, that that property number was correctly attached, I mean, human
All right,
error,
well, you gotta find it
to the
in
evidence.
evidence first, and then
Oh.
barcode read it, and assign it a barcode.
What I was going to say is that not to get too caught up on the technology of barcode and scanners, because all that is really an input device. Instead of keying in a number, you're scanning a number and it's inputting it for you. So really, the $2,500 is really wrapped up in the module and the tracking components of the module, which I'm not personally familiar with, but they're really 2 different
What
things.
you're asking us to do is purchase a piece of equipment that does a human job. In other words, it replaces somebody going down there and taking a piece of paper or a card, or however you do it now, and writing on that card that this bag with this number on it
Still have
contains
to
this.
Correct.
get your
Still have to do
barcode
it.
set up.
Yeah, you still have
But
to
I-
enter all
I'm
that.
just saying, that's what it replaces.
No, what it
think
does is when you need to find something with your scanner, it's gonna be a lot quicker. Because my guess is you can program the scanner to say, I want this barcode. As you go down the aisle, when it hits it, it'll let you know,
Well,
there it is.
And I think it
Usually
reduces
there's a
human error.
location, there's a
Okay.
location
Yeah, I was
ID,
gonna say,
and then
hopefully, when they
I spent my
write
life
stuff
in
in
supply
now,
chain
they're writing
management,
where it
so.
is. I've been in the evidence room.
I think it's great. It would be great if we can have it, but when we're prioritizing what can we afford, I feel like, is that the priority? Then where can we take 2,500 plus 450 annually out of? Is there somewhere in here?
You mean in this year's budget now?
Well, next year's budget.
We'll take it out of fuel and just park a cruiser.
Let's see.
So
Do you have a
I just
maintenance?
want to prioritize, and another thing I want to say about that is, I would imagine each thing that goes into this evidence room is itemized on a list, and due diligence, safety, even if you're scanning, scan, you need to be looking, yes, this is a whatever type of gun, that's going to be on the list, right? The itemized list that you already have. So how much more efficient is checking, yep, it's here, looking, seeing, and scanning?
Just the guy that teaches the class, I got a tour of his evidence room, and he said it saves him weeks in doing an audit in his evidence room. That's the easiest way to describe it. So it's just that time, rather than being down there 3 weeks, they can do it in a day or two.
But why is it 3 weeks? Why aren't they going down there with a list that's already made up? Because each item that's going into the room should just be added. You're not going to go and log each thing again. Yeah, this is the same thing it was, yes.
Yeah, I mean, like
Things also leave.
Yeah, I mean, one burglary case could have 20 pieces of evidence assigned to
How
that.
it's different? How is it different than?
So they have to go and physically find the tag, read the tag number off it, manually enter it into the system where if you scan it, it automatically enters it. It does it
And that's
instantly.
the current system we have.
Right. If it's a 10-digit number, you have to type that number in. There's room for human error. If you scan it, it automatically is going to appear on the computer screen that you just went by that piece of evidence instantly, rather than looking at the number and typing it and hoping you don't transpose a number by accident because you're tired or.
Why do we currently do it that way on the
It's-
computer by logging numbers?
That's just how it's been
it
for
by law?
years. No, but that's how you would go to a case. A burglary case is 20 pieces of evidence, and if you're going to audit that case, you're going to go and pull the number off of each piece of evidence, cross-check it with what's in the computer, and if I was to take a scanner and just scan those, it's going to instantly tell me that they're all there. And so it's a time thing, and it also, they say, prevents human error.
No, but I'm really not understanding how it's a time thing.
The software is designed so it assigns a property number if you have a burglary case and you have this amount of footprint and this is going to be property number, the year and then
The initial
property. Yes,
crime,
for
the first.
when we're bringing all the evidence in, it gets assigned a number through our software, and it attaches it to the investigation. So if we can't remember this property number, we've got to go to the investigation later on, and we go, okay, what was in that, and what were the property numbers for that? And then we can get a list of the property numbers attached to that case. But then you've got to go down into the evidence room, and then you've got to find it. And if firearms are separated from drugs and everything else is separated, like the stolen merchandise is separated in a different bin, now you've got to go to 3 different areas to try to find everything attached to this case instead of one area. Because we try to keep drugs and firearms separate from everything else to be in a slightly more secure area.
So it sounds like it would save time looking up one specific case, not actually auditing it.
It would, auditing the whole evidence room, it would save a tremendous amount of time. It does save time on the front end, the back end, and tracking, and I think it reduces human error. So, like, I've been down in the evidence room where I'm like looking for one piece of evidence, and someone may have been down there and moved it and not remembered to put it back because they were trying to get something behind it. And now I'm in this one area where it's supposed to be, and I can't find it. Now I have to go through all these bins to find this, and it can be pretty stressful because I now have a piece of evidence I can't find.
I eventually find it, but it gets pretty stressful and it can.
So this module has a locator
Time.
feature to it?
Right, that's what I guess
I
I'm
think
not
it
understanding.
expedites it by scanning everything and then really quick, and if it's like one, it'll.
Okay.
I mean, the other, like, say Nate has to take 50 envelopes down to the state lab for testing because it's fentanyl, heroin, meth in each one. They're all different cases. He has to manually enter all of those envelopes that he's taken them to the state lab. Then when the state lab's done with them, he has to manually enter them all back in. Now he could just simply scan them all at one time in a matter of seconds that they're all going to the state lab, and when they come in, do the reverse. So it's going to save time all the time. But I could get together with Tim and see if there's a place that we could find it this year, if we not have to appropriate it for next year.
For $450 a year, that's 20 hours or less of an officer's time. And if we expedite it with the barcodes and all, I think that $450 is a small price to pay.
Well, overtime didn't go down.
So I have a question. With part-time wages, talking about looking for money, you have a full complement of officers now. I've heard that. Why are we at $10,000? We spent $5,346, $8,000 last year when we didn't have a full complement of officers. But now that we have a full complement of officers, could we not reduce that 10,000? You only spend 53.5% right now.
Yeah, we've been pretty good at. There's been times where it's bailed us out when we had an officer that was out or injured or some hole in the schedule for an extended period of time where, we were able to get a part-time officer in to fill those gaps. But
Now you got more officers to fill those gaps.
yeah, so I mean that it is a spot there where we could.
Maybe you could find $2,500 there.
I think
At part-time, you're going to increase overtime, aren't you?
Not necessarily. Right now, we have a full complement of officers.
Who all get PTO.
We didn't have that last
Who all get
year.
PTO too, right? There's more people now earning PTO.
yeah,
And we have to cover the school for someone who has been an SRO, and Dickie has been an SRO, so we usually try to get him in there first if we have to cover Bill. So Bill is one of the senior officers, so he gets a lot of more PTO than we do. So.
Just saying.
So we're saving money, let's say, on the scanning, but overtime didn't go down.
But that is potentially an area. Last year, the number that was developed for the 2017 budget was based on the actual experience for 2016. And 2017 is coming in so far significantly less, so maybe there's an opportunity to find a little bit of money there.
28,000 current,
Right.
budgeted for 48.
It usually does get very busy in the fourth quarter, though.
I was going to say, you still have a quarter left, so
Yeah. Right.
All it takes is a bit of ice.
yeah.
Any more questions for the PD budget? We will have them back.
And then so there's one more thing. Corporal Buffington.
One more thing?
Yes, Corporal. Sorry about this. It's so Corporal Buffington just finished the backgrounds, and he met with the captain and I.
Back off a little bit from your
I'm
mic.
sorry.
It's okay.
He met with the captain and I. He just finished the backgrounds on dispatch. When we did the numbers, one of the dispatchers that finished in the top three, we had anticipated was going to take the two-person plan. It kind of helped us drive the numbers. He ended up getting a job in Vermont for more money and moving to Vermont. They finished with the final two candidates. They're both tenured, well-liked, well-respected, good dispatchers. He's trying to get them in. They would both take a pay cut to come here, no matter what. He asked if the captain and I would bring it to the board to see if we could go 75 cents more on each one. One of them is a certified dispatch trainer. The other one has a lot. They both have a lot of experience. One has probably more than 10 years. I met with Tim, we looked at the numbers, they both would be single plans. And so can you pass those out, Cap? So I brought a copy just to give you a kind of a dashboard look at the numbers, and it ends up being about $5,000 less than we had earlier anticipated. The sheet that you got a couple weeks ago when we did the calculation off the two people that we thought were going to be the finalists hired was 123, and now by going with these two, it drops it down to 117, which is a savings of $52.95. Nate's confirmed with both of them that at that 1950 they'll both take the job, and so he's asked me to bring this back to you guys. And
What was the original rate?
1875 and 1950. Those are, these are all steps that are on the collective bargaining agreement appendix.
So we had that wrong information on the stuff? Or this is, it's a,
No, these are, what they're asking for is to move up a step for both.
Move up one step because of their experience.
they would still take a pay cut even at this rate, but it's less of a pay cut that they would both said they would come. And they were the cream of the crop in the selection process. And so Nate feels pretty passionate about it, that these are the two he wants. They are probably the best out there, and they're still taking a pay cut. But when we did the numbers off of the benefits, it ended up coming in $5,200 less.
That's right. So
Because of the health insurance.
Because of the health.
Because of a
Because we
change in
didn't hire
health
them.
insurance.
The person that was going to take the two plans.
So these are two single plans here, is what you see on your sheet in front of you.
That's been verified, but that's what,
Yes.
And the first half rate and the second half rate, what that reflects is that in July, per the contract, they'd be eligible to go up to $20.25 an hour from the 1950. So the annual wages reflects half the year at 1950, half the year at 2025.
so I understand how we would be saving. Honestly, I'm a little annoyed that this is brought to us because I feel like it was such a battle and I feel like I was fighting to get it for safety reasons, and now it's like, well, now it's up again. And you know what? People, when they called me from the public saying that, you know, this is what they want right now, and then it's going to change and it's going to go up and up, and now, you know, and I said, no, that's not going to happen. And here we are. I feel like it's kind of I'm not happy about it.
I just got a call on this yesterday, I think it was, and so it was one of these things when you're doing background checks, sometimes these things can happen.
And so they're already taking a pay cut, so let's be honest. They're gonna want raises, you know, they're gonna want to get. So, but we're already giving them a raise and they haven't even started.
Well, you're starting them at a different rate based on their experience.
I get it.
Right.
The next step up.
They're skipping a whole step, so they'll be a whole year in advance of
Right,
what they would have
I
been.
get what they're doing. I guess I shouldn't have said raise, but what I mean is, no, I'm not okay with this. After I fought to get this dispatch, and you know, so many people came to me from the public saying, "Don't do this, don't do this," and you know, now here it is. We don't even have them yet, and we're already trying to raise the rate. I don't think that's fair. And if that means we need to hire different people, I'd be okay with that. Sometimes it's better to train people how you want them.
Peter,
So, police union contracts are different than teacher union contracts, because normally if I go to a new job, I get put in on whatever step I should be at, not because I'm in Tilton, I go at step one. So are these dispatchers, what's their experience?
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
On our pay schedule, is that what a 10-year dispatcher would go in at? So we're getting
I
quite a
didn't hear the
savings.
answer to your question.
Huh?
I didn't hear the answer to your question.
They're not going in if they were a teacher, they're going in way under where they should.
If they were a
That's-
police officer, they're going in way under where they would
Okay,
be.
but these are dispatchers, so where would they be within our union schedule? I didn't hear
Where's
the
your
answer to that.
list there?
Yeah, I
Your
mean,
step list?
Would they be
The-
at this rate
the-
or
Much
higher?
higher.
Higher.
yeah, and they're higher where they are, obviously, and their rate's probably more comparable to the dispatcher we have now. And so, they
So
really
we're
want to,
paying an hourly rate to the dispatcher we have now.
We're doing a step. It's,
Right
Yeah.
now, what's your hourly rate
22.50 going up to 23.25
in July?
in July.
Yeah, but right now it's 22.50.
That's correct. She's at
How many years?
8. She's at an 8 step, going to a
Okay.
9 step.
So we're bringing on 2 with more experience at less pay.
So we didn't have the proper information when we agreed to this again.
No, they've negotiated something different, I think. with the-
well, I mean, he just says, that he said to me yesterday, Chief, it's an opportunity to get 2 really good dispatchers with a lot of experience in here for 75 cents more each an hour. And I said, well, I'll bring it forward. I know them. I believe them. They're both excellent dispatchers. I watched the oral boards. They did great. But
Why didn't we
What
make
hap-
it that?
Well, what happened was is we gave a conditional offer to one dispatcher. He had accepted that offer, and then through the process of the background, he withdrew, taking another job for much higher pay. I hate to say it, but that it was a significant increase in pay. So we lost him. So now we're back to, okay, we still have 2 positions to fill, and we know that these other dispatchers will be taking a pay cut to come here. What is it going to take to be competitive to get them?
John, you had a comment?
Why don't we just keep looking? If we set an amount that we're going to hire somebody at, and we said, okay, we can get somebody in for that amount, just because these 2 guys that you guys know or somebody knows and we've already been through it, if they don't want to take that, we need to look further. Just keep looking. It's a budget, you know.
So-
We're also competing.
There's a
with-
contract also.
But we're competing with Franklin looking for dispatchers, Merrimack County looking for dispatchers, Belknap County looking for dispatchers, Belmont, Laconia. So it's going to be hard to find.
But then why didn't we have that information when we got what the rate was going to be? It was going to be,
Because they averaged it, and now they've got specifics. Now they've got specific
And they're
individuals.
they're
Before it
going
was
to be
an average.
less, even with the increase in pay because of the benefits. You look at the total package.
If we cut out some of the weekend hours and went with the 1 full-time and 1 part-time, we could probably pay the full-time person what he wants, the 25 or
1950.
the 1950, and then fill it in. We'd just be cutting out
My
some of the weekend
understanding is
hours.
these are trainers, correct?
yeah, one of them's, I think, maybe 16 years. The other one's maybe 7, but it's a trainer, an actually certified trainer. They're excellent dispatchers. I know both of them, and I think they're worth this amount. When he put the numbers in there, I think he had 14 applicants. He hadn't given conditionals yet. He hadn't done background yet, and was optimistic that he could get them in here for that price. And when he finally got down to the final 2 that finished at the top of the process, when he called him and basically said, you finished your number 1, your number 2, the pay cut was going to be so significant. They said, he said that they wouldn't consider anything less than this amount, and one of them's still, even at this rate, going to take a $2 an hour cut, but she really wants to work for us. She actually applied for us back when we hired Terry. She's wanted to work here for years, and so she's still willing to take a pay cut to come here, but
But the applicants didn't know what the range was at the
For
time of
special?
applying?
We didn't know.
I thought we did know.
No, when they were interviewing, we didn't know.
At the time.
When we were
We had
given
it.
the rates, there was a very specific rate, and I remember asking, so what is this based on? How, you know, a certified is gonna make whatever it was, 18 something, and then non-certified made a little bit less. And I was like, so that's a set rate?
That was
And
after
that's
the orals.
what I was told.
That was
Yeah.
after the
And
orals.
it-
So,
That conversation.
I don't, so I feel like, again,
I remember
we didn't
the
have the right
conversation, too.
information going
It
into
was after
this.
their interviews.
And I think
But-
whether it was,
Unless you know who the people are, you'll never have the right information. It's a shot in the dark.
but now I know this. I thought it was a set rate for, you know, that's what
I
the
just can't
impression
see
I
how
had.
they are going against the CBA.
Tim, what was the total cost for the estimated plans with the
Prior
old
to
rate?
this.
So,
20
roughly you mean the total,
Total is
the
20.
total
What did
cost?
we estimate?
The total
These
cost?
two dispatchers would cost, and I think we gave them family plans, did we not?
One.
No, one was a two-person, one was a single, and that
Okay,
was
so
based
what was
on
that
who they
total
thought they were going to
estimated
hire at the time.
plan?
26 something.
I can tell you right now.
I
It was
apologize.
$28,172.
No. So the
You mean
two
it-
full-time dispatchers.
Are you talking about
What
the
was
total?
Oh, total.
Total.
The one that was provided to the budget committee last night was
123,11.
123,111. That's how it rounded out. So
So
there's a
the
$5,295
rate may be up
difference.
because of the health plans.
This
It's
is
less.
what it was.
That's right. So the wages are higher, but
total cost is
given, right, the total cost is less because of
That's
the
with
change
the
in
health
health
plan.
plans. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they're
I get
within
that.
about 4% of what they told us.
so we could have saved.
It's just higher wages, less benefits.
Correct. Based on what?
Yeah.
What we
When
know
you're-
of
When you
the-
don't know who you're hiring, it's shot in the dark.
Well, I think
I thought we knew,
they
though.
did know who
Right.
they were intending to hire with
Yeah,
the
he's
former
going
plans,
to Vermont, right?
but he
So-
took another job.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Is this something, he probably needs to know this soon?
Well, aren't we trying to get going for
Yes, we
November
are.
1st?
I guess we are.
I'm a yes.
Okay. We've been beating this up for,
Can't we approach the other people that got I mean, that was the top two, okay?
Yeah,
And we had 14, so, I mean,
When
we could still have 12 other ones that were interested.
11, one went to. the
11,
top one went to
11,
Vermont.
excuse me. But there's another, there should be a pool out there.
But some of those weren't even qualified.
well, I guess the question is,
The
do you want an
interview.
Edsel or do you want a Cadillac for a dispatcher?
I don't
The
think
other
it's
part of this is
offer on type thing.
Sounds like it.
when we hire an officer, we look at their experience and we say, we're gonna bring them in on this step. And that's the step we bring him in based on his experience. We did that when Abe came in, we said, okay, he's gonna come in at step 3 or step 4.
Dave Appleby.
Dave Appleby, he was way at the top, like step 7 or something. Close to, way above Matt. That's what we did. It should be the same. Based on that, we did it because this is a new program. This is a new expansion. This is new, something new to us. We didn't do that. I think going forward, if by attrition, if somebody left and came in, that's what you would do, per the contract.
Are we ready to make a motion on this question?
I don't know.
Well, I'll make a motion, so moved. And we bring the one with 16 years and the one with 7 years, the train for, at step
Can you
At the
guys explore other
1950
options?
stuff?
1950 step,
Yeah, the only thing I
Okay,
don't.
step
We have a
4,
motion on the
I'm
table.
sorry.
step 4,
Do I have a second?
1950.
Second.
Discussion on the motion on the table, and let's try to keep it to new discussion on the motion on the table. We've been here for 15 minutes now discussing this. Anybody, new comments?
What, can you Is this something that can be relooked at?
Obviously, he could go in there and try to re-background more candidates. I don't know what their health requirements would be for plans. If he ended up with 2 with family plans, it's going to push me way over the budget that I hope to stay
You
to.
come in at $18 an hour
And then want the-
family plans, which would drive the price way up.
And
Chief.
I would caution that a lot of our applicants have never been dispatchers, and it is a different job. So when they come in and they suddenly realize, I don't like this.
Oh, crap.
And then we're back to,
Like bus driving.
gotta find someone. So if we have experienced dispatchers that do want to dispatch for us, that's kind of a good thing, so.
Any more discussion?
I hear that, I understand that. Had you guys came with the 1950 originally,
Right.
I probably would have said okay. I'm more irritated that I fought so hard to get this, and now what's happening is exactly what people said was gonna happen. And like,
Except we're coming in cheaper. You gotta
but
look at the
we should
total
be
pack,
saving. We should
it's
be
the
saving.
total pack.
So are we gonna tell them, we're gonna sign you up, but you can't have kids? Are they not gonna be allowed to have kids? What if one of them has twins next
Or
year?
gets married.
Fire.
But I mean, we can't.
We
look at
can
it
do
like
what
that.
ifs forever.
That is a good point, but yes, I
Fine.
mean, it's,
It's not a what if. It's this. I feel like has now been a pattern with this project in particular that I feel. I feel like we keep getting this kind of surprise information where I was under the impression this was like a set rate. This was what it was, and now it's going up. So I'm not happy.
any more discussion? Does everybody understand the motion on the table?
Could you re-clarify it for me, please, for the record?
The motion. Pat, you
Motion
gave the
is to
Bring in 2 dispatchers at
1950 an hour, step 4.
Oh, boy. Well, then you can't have that.
All right, all those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye. Nay.
All right. 4-1, motion carries.
What was that, John?
4-1.
Nay.
Okay. She wasn't sure if it
All right.
came out aye first.
Thank you, Catherine.
Just clarifying.
Thank you, board.
Any more questions?
Did you hear about the 20th
I guess not.
appealing the sentence?
Oh, I did.
Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna make it or send something then because that's amnesty time, but I'm gonna try to, but we'll see.
Yeah, the county attorney was pretty good about it.
Okay.
We're all right.
Judy's going, so.
Oh,
What time?
9, but it's in a, it doesn't mean it's like everything else.
I had a question. Who
PW.
is the animal control officer for Tilton?
So,
all of them.
Can I asked the chief, come on,
So just to back up, we used to have an officer that got a stipend to do it, and so because they would get called in, that was their job, and that was in place when I got hired, and then at some point we cut that out. So as it stands right now, any officer could respond to a call with an animal, and if it was something that was outside of their training ability or they didn't have the right equipment to deal with it, then we would call Birch Hill Kennel.
now, that was Officer Patton?
It was, yeah.
Because it's in some of the town reports that
Yeah.
he is the animal control
Was.
officer.
Was.
But when did that change?
When Chief
I-
Cormier was hired. If you look at the
What year were you
annual
hired?
reports,
It was, yeah, like
2007.
December 21st, 2007, I think is when I got the call. So right around there.
And
But
that was
Bill, I think it was that next budget year that we,
Selectmen felt at the time, and it was during the budget process, that, and the question came up, I remember it clearly, I can tell you who asked the question too, it was Tom.
Tom,
Is, we have an animal control officer, we're paying him a bit of a stipend, like $2,500 or something more? They got a
it
bit
was-
more for being animal control. But the question was, so this one person is on one shift. What happens on the other shifts? Does this person get called at night? What happens when this person goes on vacation? Who goes? Does that mean that only that one person in the whole police department can respond to animal control issues? And the answer was no. So then the reasoning is, well, why aren't all the officers responsible for any animal control call that we get? And that's what we did.
I was just checking with the
And
captain.
you have to,
Chickens.
and one thing you need to know is Birch Hill Kennel is not our animal control person. They are simply
They're a
our
kennel.
impound unit.
Our town pound.
That's our town
Oh,
pound,
oh.
exactly.
They are for Northfield.
For Northfield, they have both contracts as an impound and animal control.
Right.
They do both.
So the next time my goat
Gotta
gets
figure that
out,
out.
you can go get it. Thank you.
Good night.
So next week for budgeting, shall we go through any questions we may have on the entire budget, narrow it down to, I think really it's just administration. We may have some for land use or some of the other smaller budgets, but I think administration may be able to help us with that. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Who's coming in next week for our agenda? Do we have visitors?
I don't believe we do because Lauren is not going to be able to make it.
Okay,
And Ashley's going to be late.
so let's try to keep it to, maybe we can kind of come very close to finalizing the budget, except, for actuals that come in and whatnot.
Do you have a lot?
And Joyce, did you hear that? So we'll be going over the rest of the budget, so we'll be looking at answers. Thank you. All right, I have a question. I really have a question. We're expecting a frost tonight.
What?
Yeah, it's supposed to be, one of the coldest nights so far this season.
Tonight?
Why on earth are we running an air conditioner up here?
Why are we renting an air conditioner?
Running it.
Well, guess what? They were running it last night at the police committee. And I
Probably been
shut,
on since?
all three were running and I shut all three off.
Okay, well, we have to tell the people that work up here that
All
if it's
three
Why
gonna
don't
be
they open the
cold.
windows? There was a nice breeze today.
I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, it's,
Okay, listen.
I mean, maybe somebody's got an issue with, they do kind of clean the air.
Can we put them away for the winter?
Yes, we do.
Oh, those were given to me last
oh,
night.
3 ply.
Yes, the owner came around and gave them, asked how many
Are they open
employees.
now?
The
How many
25th.
do you have?
I guessed 26 in town hall, and the chief was with me, so he told them, and
Ashley wants
Is
them
that
all.
what she really said?
then I had to guess.
Well, where's mine?
Oh, don't make me get one.
No, no.
Wait, did you get one?
I just brought the ones up tonight for the select board. We have.
Oh, okay, you have yours downstairs, yeah. So I had Gail count them out. I told her
What are you
if I
counting? How many-
miscounted,
How
don't
many
give one to me.
refrigerators?
Sometimes say
They're in
50.
his car.
Did you get one of those?
Oh, see, I was just answering honestly. I gave Public Works
John, you
theirs.
have
You
one
should.
in your folder.
It was in your folder.
It should be
Right
peeking
there,
out.
John.
All right, Joyce, please.
Here, you don't
Thank you.
answer it.
He's got a whole stack in his car.
You got another right
Okay,
people.
so tomorrow I'm gonna do all those
Let's go.
notices for the
Yeah.
tax deed.
Thank you.
And I
Gotta
just
wait
was
till the
going
25th.
through all my notices. That whole white binder is nothing but notices to him going back to 2014.
We made
So-
the right decision.
I think, like, it was a tough one with Smith was the
I don't
toughest.
think it was tough.
It was the toughest, but I think we made the right decision. So anyway, that takes us to the first one. We have 3 decisions to make on the curbside collection. We waited for Pat. Now, I spoke with Brock about this today to get his opinion on it. And he agreed that, that the town should, with me, that the town should not make any exceptions unless it's a real hardship, it's a real
Right.
conundrum.
Yeah, that's what the attorney advised.
Okay, on the one with, I can understand the people on that road that are way out of nowhere, how they don't want their road destroyed.
Yes.
They don't want to, even it's nice that he's doing it, it's just, it's gonna destroy their road, it's
Yes.
gonna encourage people to dump more trash. Please don't make them.
It's on a town unmaintained road, so if they want the
Yes.
road passable.
It's not a town road, it's a private road. It is not their
It's not
road.
Pest House Road?
No, it's Matthews. It's
Oh,
off
it's
of, it's
Matthews.
off of Pest House.
So they gotta go to Pest House and then Matthews. Oh my
But
gosh,
they,
it
but
makes
they
it even
get to
worse.
them from Franklin.
Shannon.
Yes, I know, they go up Sandman
All
Road.
right.
Okay, keep going.
There's no S
All right,
on
so
that.
that's one. The other one that was on Caleb Hill, there's really no physical hardship.
Nope,
Nope,
Okay?
continue.
And then the other one is with Peabody Street. If, the only other one-way streets that are in that similar situation is Brook Drive. down
Brook Road.
Brook Road, and there is one house
Yep.
on it, but it's on the right side.
yep.
You have Noyes Road, where,
Wait, Brook Road? You've got a house on the left, right after the brook.
Yeah, the other house, there's two houses on Brook Road, there's two houses that put trash out on Brook Road. One is on one side, one is on the other
right, but they
side.
put it on the right
They
side.
both put it on the right
Okay.
side.
And then Peabody Street, there are 3 homes that are impacted of having other people's trash put over in the road.
Well, what's our right of way there anyways? It's gotta be wider than the edge of pavement.
You'd have to research it, I don't know. Here's look at the
Well,
road.
either way, Brock said that he hasn't had any problem getting through there with the snowplows. We don't know yet with having all the bins. But it's up to you guys. It would be I think, we left it with that the driver would get out of the truck as they're coming through 3/4 of the way of Peabody Street, get out of the truck and go and hand carry and do the thing.
What?
No.
I never
you know
heard
what?
that.
That's
No
my
exceptions.
suggestion.
I think that they should abide by the program, the policy, like everyone else does. Brook
Yeah.
Road, he brings it over to the other side of the street, I know, because he puts it on my property.
Okay,
It's my
Noyes
property.
Road,
So everybody else is doing it. We don't need to make an exception for one road because they feel inconvenienced or they don't like trash sitting on the side of the road by their property for a
I
day.
have my neighbor's trash in the front of my house.
So
You gotta do what,
It's trash day.
Consistent.
I think they should be
Trash day.
delighted we have curbside pickup.
I'm very delighted.
I mean, because it is expensive.
No exceptions.
So, do we want to, just a
Consensus.
consensus or a motion here for this?
No exceptions.
okay. And also just,
Yep, so,
No exceptions.
Peter,
No,
Ashley,
I don't mind accommodating people for easy fixes like that.
okay, Pat, you said,
Not member.
no exceptions here, so, no exceptions.
okay, and also I just want to comment, I asked Brock, I said, it's been 2 months now since we've had the program. Have you run into any problems down on Wednesdays or Saturdays? Have there been any issues? Have things increased?
He reported that to us.
And he just said, no, things have been great. He says Wednesdays have really dropped down,
Mhm.
and on Saturdays, people are fine, they're using the purple bags. I asked him about the people on Matthew Drive. He says, we know who they are, so.
Okay.
And we'll see how it goes with plowing in the winter, but, I mean, everybody's gonna have a problem with the
So by
trash.
not making
We have a
an
lot of
exception to Matthews Drive, are they going to continue to bring their trash down?
Yes,
Okay,
and Brock said that wasn't a problem, because it's just those 2.
okay.
The PD study, I just wrote that in there, Pat, I'm sure you're gonna want to say something, so I'll just leave that.
It was just,
No response yet from DOT, I'm continuing to follow up. No response from Bitterd Lane, I'm continuing to follow up. And my next thing after I get through these things is and I heard that I didn't go last night to Taste of the Trails, I heard it went well. And I just emailed Eliza to let me know how much money they raised. So I still have that, and then the October now, so I really need to get the Caleb Hill request for qualifications out. It's all written, I just have to send them out. Old business, sidewalks, I touched base with Brock and went over a lot of the things over the past couple months, just to make sure things were completed. So he says he plans to complete Winter Street project next year. One of the things he'd like to repair is the section along West Main Street from Winter Street to the school, to the high school. That's on his priority for sidewalks. I called Chris Harris, Porter Paving, to say, are you going to be able to finish up the paving? he promised me he'd get right back to me and let me know.
You
Are we
can't,
gonna resolve the issue first?
yeah.
Because the board told me just to pave over it.
No.
The board told me to go ahead and pave.
No.
Brock sat here, we're talking about the sidewalk over along the river.
Yeah.
Brock sat here and told us at least twice that he did not feel there was any sinkhole issue because he doesn't see any change in it from, a year ago till now.
That's
Has
the
he
only
filled it?
reason I called.
I haven't
He hasn't done anything
I
to
haven't
it.
heard Brock say
Well, why
that.
wouldn't we have at least filled it?
And he,
To
well, he
level
was
it up.
waiting to see, I mean, they will,
I filled it, smoothed it out, and then it's going down, I know it's still sinking.
but there's no, it hasn't moved.
Okay.
So he said that, he sat here and said, we'll get her
We're gonna
done.
go ahead and get it done.
No, there was no
We
issue.
signed the,
I didn't hear him say that at all.
what can I say?
I don't know, I
I'll
remember the
go back and
conversation
listen to
clearly,
it.
yeah.
'Cause I never would have called him.
Nope.
Thought we were waiting on the state to fix it.
The state's never gonna fix it.
There's nothing to fix that we know of. I mean, we don't have a case to say to the state, look, we have this giant sinkhole, this has been sinking, it's
I
been
think
sitting
that-
there for a year and has not moved.
I think he should at least do what Peter is suggesting to do, is fill it, and if it sinks more, then we know that it's still sinking, and there is an issue.
All right,
Well,
so do you want me to call
that's-
Chris back?
That's
and say
almost
no?
redundant,
Have
because
the town fill it
you
or
have,
have Chris
you
fill
have
it?
an area that's already been compacted and hasn't sunk. So what good does it do to fill it with new soil to see if that sinks? If it's gonna, if there was a sinkhole there, it would have sunk further. But we can do whatever the board wants.
I'd like to see it get done, just working on, I took a look, when I was in the river to see if stuff was washing down through the rocks, and I took a look, I didn't see anything there. I looked from the downside.
You in the river looked?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
On the riverside.
You couldn't see anything, yeah,
Nothing, it wasn't like a sign of stuff washing out,
yeah.
and I couldn't tell where it was.
Okay, let's move on.
All right, and then the project was signed in December of 2015. It was supposed to be completed in 2016. Didn't happen. We carried over to 2017, and now we're going into 2018.
With that sidewalk? Hmm. Been there for a while.
Okay, and you had mentioned you're obtaining estimates for concrete pavers on the north side of Main Street, from School Street to Prospect Street.
No, the board asked me to get prices for stamped concrete for Main Street, both sides. So I have a list of like,
For both sides, okay.
and I looked for people that did decorative stamped concrete. So
So,
I've got at least 9 people I've called. 3 responded. 1 came and looked and was going to give me a price for stamped. Another came and looked and just poo-pooed concrete altogether and wants to give us a price for bricks. I'm like, well, it's free, go ahead.
now, do you still want Brock to get a paving estimate for both north and south?
I think so, sure. All of this is
Now,
free
is
stuff.
that work that we're planning to do for 2018, or is this for budgeting and planning, for 2017, or budgeting and planning for 2018?
Budget and planning.
For 2018, okay.
We're not gonna do any more work this year, because the asphalt plants are gonna start
Well,
closing
if
down.
somebody can,
Hmm?
if somebody's
side of
got
the-
something that we can get done,
That side of Main Street's the worst.
I highly doubt it, but
But I'll continue to get prices just so we have, options and
Okay.
to look at. I'm gonna call some local boys and get prices on exposed aggregate and broom finished concrete too. So I'll have lots of choices.
Okay, we just needed clarification on,
Yeah. It's kind of,
Lauren had to cancel for the 19th, and she's not available on the 26th. I still have to follow up on some responses with Andrew from New Hampshire Solar Garden. So, do you want me to, once I get that information, just send everything to Lauren and have her write something up for the board? Or we'll just wait until
So-
November?
So
I
she's
have-
not going to be available at all for us?
I have questions for Lauren on this. I mean, you have a piece of property that's
I'll
really a
tell you why
backland lot
after.
that doesn't have any utilities on it. The access is via the range road. I don't see it being an appealing piece of property to a developer. And he's gonna have to bring in all those utilities and build a road to town specifications to it. So my point is, I don't see revenue coming from it as house lots. Right now, it's in what, current use?
Yes.
So the solar garden isn't going to go through with this project if we assess it for, yeah,
The way any resident would be taxed.
no.
Based
A
on their
commercial
assessed
property
value.
would be could be taxed on monetary income, business.
Yes,
She does that some places.
yes, you want to give big business a break.
So
That's what they want us to do.
That's right.
I'm just saying that we need to be open-minded that there is an avenue for some revenue from that property for the next 20 years. That we would
Well,
not
if they have
probably
their
have.
10-year check, be careful with that, because to me, with Sanberton, the only way their numbers go is down.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to be creative in an agreement. I'm just saying I have questions for Lauren. I know that she's opposed to giving them a, one of those.
Tax breaks.
Okay, well, the other thing too that I think we should look at is, because we do have a pilot for the hydro dam, and that's based, they pay a certain percentage, it's a low percentage, but they pay a percentage to the town every year based upon the amount of electricity that's generated. Now, this is different because, I mean, they are generating.
We have that
We have a
presently.
pilot with Lockmere
Yes.
Country Club,
Which
That's, no,
dam?
Lockmere was a discretionary
a
easement.
discretionary easement.
Right. So we could look
Similar.
and see if it's possible
Which
to
dam
do
is it?
the one at the Lockmere Dam.
Look, okay.
And that was, it goes on until
Eternity.
forever, until they no longer produce power. So I'd like to look at something like that as well, so that at least as energy, or as his revenues increase, we can continue to get more money. Rather than.
Providing we go along with the whole idea.
Right, and where his proposal was just a flat number per year.
So perhaps if we have any questions for Lauren, that we could send them to Joyce and she can send them on to Lauren.
Yeah, let me compile what he's sent so far and see what else I can get. And then the only other thing, everything else been waiting. No one's bleeding. Is anybody bleeding? No one's, everybody can breathe?
What do you mean?
It's not an emergency.
What things?
Of other things that I have, they can wait, because we're going on 9 o'clock.
Yeah, the emergency thing.
Oh, I mean, for you guys.
Yeah,
I'm just saying for me.
It's for you, though.
Oh, for me? Oh. If you get a chance, if you could go up on Dunlop Drive and look on Simmons Court, do you remember what the address is?
Our town property?
It's on our town property.
It's straight ahead of you.
Okay.
Right at the cul-de-sac.
There are 2 large trees that they said are leaning on town property.
Yeah.
So Brock went up and looked at it, and he says, yep, those are big trees. But he didn't say that they looked like they were hazard. He didn't, it wasn't an impending emergency at that moment.
I know which ones you're
You
talking
do,
about.
okay. So
But if
you
they're
get a
leaning
chance-
onto town property, there's no building there.
Well, he suggests you just go up and take a look, and
Yeah.
let him know what.
Did we have a citizen complain?
Yes,
Oh. Gail?
resident.
Citizen was inquiring if 2 large pine trees are on town property, 10 feet from the road. If we have a bad storm with high winds, they could crash onto his house.
Oh, okay.
12 Simmons, near 12 Simmons.
Which ones
Okay.
you mean?
Hill Road, Dunlop.
I was just
mean-
up there.
Yeah, so,
And it's pine.
okay.
It's not like it's oak and if they lean little, it's okay, but in pine, it's,
So, we ask if you could go up and just take a look and tell us.
Everybody take a look at,
I'll
does
go.
everybody know where Simmons Court is?
Yeah, it's off of Dunlop.
Ashley, do you know where it is?
No.
You go up Lancaster Hill Road from 132?
and then take
It'll be a
Dunlop.
left.
And it'll be a left Dunlop.
And then it's.
There's two Dunlops, that one that makes the circle back out like this, go up the first one, and Simmons Court's on your left.
Left.
Just drive straight in.
Cul-de-sac.
And you want us
You'll
to
see.
go-
Look at these two big pine trees that
Pine trees.
may look like they're falling down.
For a few weeks, of bringing up this safety issue. Does anybody remember what it is? Anybody
The
listen?
rocks in the river.
Oh,
The lights were fixed on the
No.
island.
the sidewalk, the speed limit sign,
Yes.
and all the
No.
trees
Yes,
that are blocked.
Yes.
And it-
When is Joyce on?
you
Tilton
can't-
Prep.
So where are we at with that?
yes. I
Did you contact
contacted
Fred?
Fred Heath, and I
Okay.
also made Brock aware.
Is he going to take care of it, or? I mean,
Brock
it's-
will take care of it if we don't hear from Fred.
Okay.
I can call
We're
Fred
going
again.
to stay on him. He should at least
Yeah.
get up there and unblock
Fred
the
usually
sign.
Maintaining
pretty good.
DOT roads.
If our public works has to take care of that, we should be sending a bill to the
Yeah.
public.
Fred's usually really good
I know.
about that.
Yeah, but you can only do what they authorize him
Have
to do
you
if it's
seen it
beyond.
today and it's not been taken care of? How long ago did you
You
contact?
can't see the sign that
The
says
last time he brought it
speed
up,
limit.
I can go
It's
look
last
up the
week.
email.
No,
You've
this
brought
is-
it up a
This
couple-
week 3.
Yeah, you've brought it up each week, but last time you brought it up.
That's
was last week.
unusual.
Yeah.
But yes, we just want to make sure it's.
Anything else, John?
Budget committee met last night, and we started interviewing or presentations by different organizations. So if you can't make it, the selectmen are going to be also making recommendations on this budget. Please look at the video and watch the presentations. Last night, Red Cross and New Beginnings didn't show up, but the former Association of Lyme did show up, and they're now called Future in Sight. He explained a little bit of that. It gets away from the stigma of, oh, I'm not really blind yet, I just have sight problems, so people may not get the attention that they need and pay attention to it early enough. So by changing the name, but he brought that up. The budget committee did vote on it and approved $2,000 to go to them. So, but you can check out the schedule or with Jane, or, and I think it's coming around to us.
Green apple?
Joyce,
Guys,
could you get all the selectmen a copy of the schedule of the outside agencies coming into the budget committee? Email it to us.
We have that.
Isn't that what,
You should have them.
We all have it.
Didn't I give you a copy for your
there's a lot of
binder?
money going to.
I don't know, if it was email, then everybody could see it.
I gave you one.
I'm just giving it to the benefit of everybody else.
Have your book
Johanna
downstairs.
tells me when I ask her.
Okay.
My book's downstairs, but I didn't stay last night. I went home for the after the PD, after your presentation to answer the questions that they had on the highway equipment and the dispatch. And then I took off.
So the budget committee meets again next week,
Yeah.
and
Every week thereafter except Thanksgiving.
yeah,
Who's
pretty
next
much
week,
every
Jim?
Wednesday. Be there or be square. It's exciting.
No, just the two, just
Just the two?
I get a lot of numbers.
I say we cut all outside agencies by at least 30%.
We'll just pray they don't show up. That's what
Oh, that's a good one. Anything else?
Well, we
That's
have a
what
new
that's all I
outside
got.
agency this year,
That's it.
Pemmy?
PEMI.
Peter, do you have anything for us tonight?
Yeah, but I don't think you want me to say it yet.
Oh, no, you can save it. Ashley?
Your turn.
Anything? Pat?
This Saturday is the Vicky Virgin,
That's right, next week is
next week. Next week.
Next, yeah.
Vicky Virgin Food Drive, and also it's a fundraiser for the senior center pancake breakfast. So you can go to the pancake breakfast and then drop food off to the Feed the Hungry Vicky Virgin.
Pancakes.
Where's the pancake?
Huh?
I think the pancake breakfast is on the 28th.
Maybe it's the 28th.
There's notices downstairs in the corner.
It's 28th?
28th.
So the 28th is the pancake breakfast, and the 21st is the Vicky Virgin food drive. That's all I have. Good night.
Heather wanted me to mention, and I'm sorry I didn't do it early in the evening, but there just wasn't any place to break it in. She just wanted people to be aware that the applications are due to the Dropbox at Tilton Town Hall by November 1st for the Tilton Northfield Sandwiching Christmas Fund, which serves all those who are in need in the 3 towns, including Lockmere and Winnisquam, for the Christmas holiday. Lockmere and Winnisquam are not towns. So, is this something we could put on the website? Did you want us to make a public announcement?
It's not town.
Oh, it's not town. It's not town. We already had that conversation. Thank you for the reminder. Okay. Okay.
It's
So we could,
It's supported.
it's supported by the town for the last 30 years.
it's never been supported by the town. The town gives no monies to this organization.
Well, we don't, it's not supported
by-
money-wise, but it's supported by the town. The town
Tilton Northfield.
It's not supported by the town.
community, yeah.
Tilton Northfield.
It's supported by the 3 communities, and we have volunteers that work it. I'm going to suggest to her some flyers, and I'll just post them.
We have other things that are on the town website that are supported by communities, like the WRTA, which is not sponsored by the town, not supported by the town, but it's supported by the communities, and we have that up there. That's what I was trying to
The
tell you.
trail?
Yes.
Oh, no, that's supported by the town. We are contracted. We've signed the agreements. We are responsible. We have a fund.
Nothing. Nothing.
Could the selectmen make a statement that with the upcoming holidays, we ask that the townspeople think of the various food drives such as such and such that's going on, and that the selectmen will be at the food drive,
No, we're talking about the Christmas fund,
Christmas fund?
the
Well,
annual
the food-
Christmas, yeah.
For the Christmas fund.
Yeah.
The
I'll-
food drive's
But,
gonna
you know, to
happen.
support the
I'll get her
selectmen.
to make some posters,
The food drive's
just
sponsored.
page sides, and I'll put them up all over the place.
That can be on the website,
The Christmas fund, that
The
we're
food drive is
encouraging
on the website.
yeah. But that,
to remember.
We'll get it out there.
Well, and Heather gives it to the schools, right? I mean, to the, like, the school administration,
I think so.
not
Teachers,
the,
yes.
not
well,
through
the
their.
school has baskets where they donate.
I think so. Well, I'll talk to her. We'll
She
get
goes
it
out
out
to the
there.
school and puts the baskets down, yeah.
Anything else?
Did you get the
She has one thing and I have one thing.
Public or
I
not?
Who has one thing?
Brock today, he said he has one down there. I said, I asked him, I said, can you bring it to the town hall and I'll take it down? He said, no, he would take it down. He does have one.
I have a small dilemma, and the chief, I think, is going to help me out with it, but I'm not sure because it's an inconvenience for him. We have a donation of a lot of wood and paneling for our walls for the senior center for the outbuilding, but I don't have the logistics of going down and getting it
Where is it?
at Atkinson.
What do you need?
Like a flatbed or 1 ton or
When do you
something.
need to get it?
Soon before my cousin gives it to somebody else.
I got a Suburban.
It won't fit in the Suburban, I don't think.
It's really nice though.
It's, yeah.
It's something that can tow it.
It's a lot of pine, and he
I got
has,
a trailer.
and he has
I have a tree.
ton and groove
Yeah, but the
pine
music during the
paneling
week.
that we can have. So he's donating it to the, so we can put up walls and
Can't you drive an F-550 with a trailer?
I could,
Oh, maybe.
yes, but I don't own one.
I have trailers.
You need a vehicle to pull the trailer.
I have 2.
Is this for a town-owned building?
Yes.
Yeah.
Senior center.
Oh,
For the senior center.
That's what I was saying, the
couldn't- I
F-550.
mean, we're getting a new F-550
You got an
and,
Take
existing
the
one
new
too.
one down.
and the,
I'll drive
and
the new
the
one.
trailer, and we've got somebody that's certified, Pat.
Yeah.
What do you,
Yeah.
I think would
I'm not
be
driving a new
appropriate,
vehicle, I'm sorry.
Catherine,
have
or
the
somebody
new
to
one.
drive.
They don't have the.
The old one,
doesn't he have a
Mark.
rack body
Oh, you
down
want the
there?
new one? Okay.
I don't care which one. No, I'm just saying the 550. I don't think you want the
I
big
think
truck.
if it's for picking up material that's specifically for a town building,
Yeah.
that
Well, why don't we just see if we can use the rack body, because it's got sides to it, a trailer, you'd have to do more to tie it on, but if it's got racks.
What rack body?
Doesn't he have a rack body?
No, we have dump trucks.
With dump
Dump
trucks.
trucks and pickup trucks.
And the
Yeah,
trailer,
rack.
the 550 is a small dump.
I don't know, I haven't been down there this week, maybe there is.
They're all dump trucks, there's no rack
Well,
body.
it's a rack body and
Huh?
it's a dump. I still call it a rack. It's a dump.
Huh?
I said, I have a rack body.
You have a
it's
rack
dump.
body, these are dump. They're not racks, they're dump.
They're dumps. Metal
So,
scope.
we're thinking, so I think that's appropriate, so is
I-
is
So
that a
maybe,
consensus from the town that that would be appropriate?
Lee or somebody will go
Yeah.
down and get it.
We got
Let
a
me get it.
town representative.
We okay with that? If they
Yeah,
just-
Yes, it's a
Yes.
town building.
Yes.
Okay, got it. We don't need handsets, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so are you gonna tell them, say that? Okay.
Anything else?
Yes. Next Wednesday through Saturday, transfer station, amnesty week. Bring all your junk down, don't throw it out in the woods. Huh?
You wanna borrow my trailer?
Oh, no, now you need another truck and trailer?
Sure you don't want to use my.
No, but I will tell you, real quick,
One more thing.
one more thing. I had a problem with my TV. It was black screen,
Metrocast?
Metrocast, and they came and tested everything and said, ma'am, your TV is broken. I said, okay, fine. I went out and bought a brand new TV, and the same thing happened, and the technician came yesterday, and it was my DVRs that were causing the problem. So, guess what? I have a brand new TV now that I didn't need.
How much are you selling it
Metrocast.
for?
How much are you
Did you
selling
call
that?
them?
What about the other one?
Yeah.
You selling it?
I'm gonna hook it back up, see if that's the, if
Oh.
it's,
You ready?
then I'm gonna call Mr. General Manager and tell him the story about.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll s-
In other words,
okay.
you're gonna keep.
Second
the-
that.
Oh, I can adjourn things.
You ready?
I was gonna get the kids to look
Aye.
at the card on the table for
It's over here.
Selectman Fogg's birthday on Sunday.
Oh.